Okay, everybody, welcome to the Monday, October 11th regular City Council meeting. Let's stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, thanks for coming. First on the agenda is approval of additions to the agenda, and the only additions are some additional bills for approval.
I move we approve it.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I did.
Yeah. Okay, next we have public forum. Action may or may not be taken on any issue raised. If council requires more information or time for consideration, the issue will be placed on the agenda of the next regular council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address. At the discretion of the mayor, each speaker is given 3 minutes. Does anybody have anything for public forum? Not seeing anybody coming up, we'll close it. Next, the consent calendar. All items listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be acted on by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a citizen or council member so requests. So are there any issues with the consent calendar?
I would like to pull the revenue report, the expenditure report, and the balance sheet report and put them on this next October 25th meeting for discussion.
What numbers are they, Marcia?
Oh, let's see. Number 6, number 7, number 8.
Okay, pull to a later meeting.
The next meeting, the 25th of October.
Okay.
I wasn't aware that we had scheduled one for the 25th.
Wasn't it the second and fourth Monday?
Not until we approve the ordinance, and then it falls after that. And the ordinance change hasn't been approved.
Oh, but the motion was to start it in October, so I assumed it was. The motion was to start the second and fourth Monday in October.
Yeah, I think it was. What did you say?
If you look at your minutes, you'll see it in there.
You and I talked, and you said you'd probably start it in November.
Because of, there was a conflict or something?
Yes.
Or? Yeah.
So we established this, and the first month, we're going to change it.
The mayor told me that it was going to be on an as-needed basis, and it wouldn't be 2 meetings every month if they weren't needed. So maybe we need to discuss that.
I guess we do, because the motion clearly states that we're going to have two meetings a month, the second and fourth Monday. And regular meetings can't be changed without council action.
Okay, well, let's discuss that in the mayor and council members report later on. Let's just move this forward, pulling those 3 items out for a future meeting. Is there anybody have anything else? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, under critical issues, Judy Stevie, Cross Lake Garden Club requests permission to place a mitten tree inside the community center. Is Judy Stevie here? Are you here? I would like to know what a mitten tree is.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Does it take maintenance?
We're going to maintain it.
Okay.
I'm Judy Stevie. I'm a member of the Cross Lake Garden Club. For our Christmas party this year, in lieu of presents and door prizes and whatever, we decided we were going to help a local organization. It was decided the school might be a good place to start, so I contacted the Cross Lake Community School asking if they had a need for warm clothing or school supplies. They were extremely excited and said, well, they need both. They needed both. Hats and mittens would be most appreciated. We would like to take this a step farther and include the community in the donations. The Garden Club would like to set up a Christmas tree in the lobby of the community center on November 1st. There would be a sign probably located underneath the tree saying Mitten Tree, hats and mitten donations for our school, sponsored by the Cross Lake Area Garden Club. We would like to run an ad if the price is feasible in the Northland paper as well. Every week, someone from the club would check on the tree to make sure it is being presented in an orderly fashion. The tree would be removed on December 13, and all donations would be delivered to the school to be distributed as needed. On behalf of the Area Garden Club, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to help our neighbors.
Judy, is this a live tree?
No, it's going to be an artificial tree.
And then you're going to take it out of the building and store it someplace till next year?
Right. Actually, we're hoping maybe this will trigger something maybe even bigger and better, but it's a start.
Yeah. I support that. Anybody have any questions on it? I think we should allow that. Does that take a motion to do it? Yeah, I'll make a motion. We allow the mitten tree to be installed in the community center.
I second it.
Thank you very much.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? We
Thank
now
you.
have a mitten tree. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next is the PAL Foundation. Update on playground equipment at the community center.
Good evening, Council. I'm Alden Hardwick, and I'm from the PAL Foundation. I'm here with TJ. We're going to start the discussion of the equipment replacement for the playground stuff. I'm going to talk about the first steps. TJ has the best part, and you can talk about what the future is going to be. But I'd like to show first the recent project we completed, and it illustrates how PAL can work. Donations came in, $2,500 from a pickleball player, and $2,500 from somebody that in the community that liked what was happening with the pickleball. With that money, and then with these volunteers, we built a shade feature that's added to the pickleball court. And so the volunteers and TJ and Joss, and TJ was in boots and he was learning how to lay cement, and so he's got a career, so some things falter at the community center. But it shows you what can happen, combination of people seeing donations, rising to the occasion and matching those donations, and then volunteers working to build something, so we get a big impact for a little bit of dollars. Now, we like to use that same thing with the concept on the playground equipment. Donations, grants, gifts, participation from the community, plus volunteers, and start to replace the playground equipment. The volunteer work is a really big part of it because it expands the impact we can have with the donations we receive. And it gets people involved in the community center. And so they are part of the project. And so it's for a long time thing. We evaluated in the PAL Foundation the needs and the wants and what we've heard messages from the people of what they would like to see. And one of the major things was a replacement and an expansion of the playground equipment. And so that's what we'd like to proceed with. John, show the next slide. This is the first piece we'd like to tackle in the kickoff step. This was put in 1999. It served many, many kids. Some of you may have some of your youngsters or grandchildren play on that equipment. It's been there for a long time and done really well for us. And all equipment is. It's something that's used a lot in our community. We would like now, as the first step of the playground equipment, is to replace that. And TJ will show you like to replace that. Keep this in mind, simple facility, worked well, 22 years, good service out of it. What we would like to do for funding We have 2 donations towards this, $5,000 each, so that's $10,000. We have a grant discount from the company that manufactures it. We have money in the PAL Treasury that comes from gifts and donations from the past. And we'd like to use that to cover the cost. It's roughly about $40,000. And so we'd like to proceed. We're moving fast on this because the grant expires November 1st. So we have to have a check to them by that time. And so we'd like to proceed with this project and have you accept this project. And TJ will show you what the project looks like. Keep this in mind, and then we'll show you what can be, hopefully. Now, one more thing. We'd order the equipment now. You know how long things take. Hopefully it would come late winter, early spring, and then we'd install it in the spring. And so it would be useful for all next year. So, but we'd like to move on it now. Okay, now TJ.
Thanks, Alden. John, you can go to the slide number 3. So here you see what we have proposed to replace that old equipment with. You'll see the breakdown for the equipment and the supervised installation. I'll give you a little explanation of what supervised installation is. Instead of having the company actually be there and putting in all the equipment and doing all of the work, they would have someone come to the site, make sure that the drills are, augered is exactly where they need to be, the cement poured exactly where it needs to be, so then when volunteers or staff put the equipment together to build the playground, it goes together exactly how it's supposed to. So I believe, Alden, correct me if I'm wrong, it was right around 20-25% if we had them just do everything, and this was right around the 4 or 5%, or rough 4 or 5%, so 15%, excuse me. So it's a big chunk that we're saving there, and again, having the volunteers there and participating in this project would be something pretty cool to see. We narrowed this down from 3 playground assemblies. We looked at upwards of 30 different systems, so we narrowed it down to 3, and this is what we decided would best fit our playground. And yeah, like Alden said, we're looking for a motion from council to give PAL the blessing and accept this donation, and we get the ball rolling. And where we're looking, and this is going to be phase 1, we're looking at possibly having 3, 4, 5 phases. I plan on putting a more detailed presentation together for you coming next meeting in November. But we want to get the ball rolling on this again so we can get that grant, the 42% grant from them, and then we keep the ball rolling with more phases in the future.
So what are you going to do with the old equipment that's there?
The old equipment has served its purpose, and there really is no other use for it. The platforms are starting to weather away.
So it's going to be removed?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And back to funding on this, Alden, 2 $5,000 private donations came in. There's a total cost of $40,000, so there's a $30,000 balance. And is that what PAL is picking up?
Yes, that's right.
So it's no cost to the city?
No, the donations, the 2 $5,000 ones will go to PAL because it's tax exempt donation. And so, but it's $30,000 out of the current treasury. It'll be $40,000 when it does out of the treasury because those checks will go in there, Dave. So.
Wow.
Fabulous.
Yeah, awesome.
I think this is a good idea, fabulous idea, especially with volunteers.
Motion
to accept the donation for $40,438.53.
I make a motion to accept the donation, $40,438.53 for phase 1 of a playground.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion or questions on it? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please pass on our thanks to the PAL Foundation.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the mayor and council members' report. Number 1 is a letter dated from the League of Minnesota Cities It's acknowledging, or I'll read a little bit of it. Representative Dale Lewick, who represents your city at the state legislature, has been selected as a League of Minnesota Cities legislature for 2021. The League's Board of Directors recognized a total of 18 legislators this year, including 11 House members and 7 Senate members, for their actions and leadership on a wide variety of legislative issues of importance to the cities across the state. So they've enclosed a letter in here. I guess there's no action or anything in here, but good going, Dale. There's no action or anything here, is there? All right, next is an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the City Code related to the regular council meetings. Okay, so we are going to do this twice. We're having a lot of meetings, so we're going to set this up for twice a month. I don't know if we will need to do that all the time, but it'll make this meeting is going to be a good example of what we're in for. So is there any other discussion on it?
I don't think it's a good use of city staff time to have 2 meetings at night for sure. It requires staff to be here after hours. We could consider having one of the meetings during hours, regular working hours. But I just think it's a lot of extra time for a lot of people.
Okay, anybody else?
I guess I agree with the second meeting and the comments from John. I think this is going to require the residents to show up twice a month. Some of them might not be able to do that. And I don't mind spending an extra hour here if the agenda's longer. I only have to come one time. If you look at the size of the packet we have today, it's like we knocked off a few trees in Cross Lake to print all this stuff. So in my world, if we don't have public works meetings twice a month and the other commissions, the whole thing's going to be out of sync. I don't know what you're going to pick up going twice a month and what you're going to have to talk about. So
There'll be plenty to talk about.
The only reason I heard was that you felt that the county does it, so we should do it. So I just don't know that's a good reason to do it.
Okay.
My only reminder is just, if you do vote to pass this, clarify if it starts in October or the first one in November, since I heard some disagreement or confusion there.
Okay, you guys have anything to say on it?
I guess I'll say that the reason for this was that we were having special meeting after special meeting, and we were spending a lot more time than twice a month in here. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think we should have additions to the agenda, and we can kind of use a little common sense and not load up the agenda. So we're here for 3.5, 4 hours on one night. I guess I'm not opposed to 2 meetings a month.
I would prefer the one a month. And if we need a second one, then go ahead and schedule it. But I think to just say we're going to meet 24 times a year, I think that's, I just don't believe that we have that level of business to take care of at here.
Well, I guess I'll throw my nickel in. I am probably only actively working one here on this board, and to have 2 a month would let me work a few more hours a week, and so that was part of the motivation for it. Another part of the motivation is Shara's got bills for approval that she's always got a list of checks to pay, and this would break that up twice a month. So I don't know if there'd be a need to have 2 meetings every month, but it is very burdensome for me to leave work, who knows how many times a month, to come in here for a meeting. So that being said, I guess everybody's spoken their piece. Do we have a motion on it?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Okay, and I guess I will second it, Marcia. Any other discussion on it? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, motion fails 3-2. Okay. Next one is council attendance at Zoom meetings. This has come up before. Last year, we were under the COVID rule. Now we're out of the COVID rule. I put this on the agenda because I feel very strongly that if you're going to be up here representing the people in town, that you should be present. You should be here for them. I think the state rule is miss up to 3 meetings a year. Char, did you look into that? Is that true? Brad, did you look into it?
I don't remember that. I sent you a memo. I hope you got that a couple weeks ago. I don't remember that part of the rule. I did clarify that from my reading of the statutes, you can be more restrictive than the state, meaning you could require physical attendance, but then a council member could, has the right to argue that they have a health concern where it wouldn't apply to that particular council member. It's kind of my memory of what my memo said to you.
Yeah. So, my feeling is that when you're here in town, you're active in the community, you kind of know what's going on. If you're not here and you're not, Zoom meetings are extremely disruptive in my book, but I know everybody says that they work very well, but it's always a pain, a delay, or you can't hear them, or their mute's on, or whatever it is. It's a disruption, so. That's all I have to say about it. Anybody else have anything to say?
I don't have a problem at all with what you're trying to bring up, but I think if we do put something together, a policy, then it has to take effect with, after the following election, upcoming election. To do it in midterm, I think would be inappropriate.
Okay.
It could be put in place now for where it starts. I'm not sure how that works.
Year and a half from now or something it'll take place.
Where you would approve it now, but it would not take effect till after the next election.
But the 3-meeting thing is in effect.
Well,
That's
that's
the
different.
state.
That's different.
Okay, but
3-meeting
that's
thing-
Zooming. That's 3 meetings, that's it.
That's the way it is now. It's 3 meetings.
Yes.
But what I'm hearing is every meeting here. And I think there, at some point, I know I've missed one because I was exposed to COVID. I had to.
Aaron, that's always going to be an exception,
Yeah.
obviously, or a funeral, or, there's all kinds of things that are the exception.
But I think if you're going to put it in, when people run for the position, they need to understand that that's part of it. And I think we need to address it from that perspective.
Brad, do you have anything to say to that? Isn't that part of it now? Isn't that a rule now?
I can't remember when COVID and the governor's mandates happened
Pre-COVID.
in relation to
Pre-COVID.
the last election. I can't remember timing. But the COVID thing threw it for a wrinkle there. But yes, before that all happened, I think the expectation was clear about attendance of meetings, if that's your question.
Yeah, if you're going to run for a position to represent the people of a place, you should be there, That's all I'm
State
saying.
law is 90 days.
I don't know.
It is.
Okay.
It's 3 meetings. It's 3 meetings.
That's
That you
not how
can do by
state law
Zoom.
reads. It reads 90 days
Well, I kind
continually.
of think,
I should have had that in my head before. I wasn't thinking it was going to come up again. Whatever the state law was, when I talked to the league about it and looked at the statutes, whether it's 3 meetings or 90 days, either way, the council can clarify or be more restrictive because the governor's mandate is off. And also, you could clarify whether attending by Zoom counts as an attendance, just to clarify that in a policy. During COVID, we kind of had a little more latitude there, and maybe that should continue, maybe it shouldn't. I think that's more of a policy decision.
I don't think we have to inform people that file for office that they're going to be expected to attend the city council meetings. When I filed for council, I expected, if I got elected, I would be at the meetings. That's just common sense. I'm sorry, but that's it. That's common sense. You file for an office, you come to the council meetings.
So then that means there's no excuse to not attend.
For health reasons,
But that,
yes.
well, then we have to write down every reason that would be allowed on Zoom.
There would only be an exception for health reasons that I can see.
I think we need to understand the state law first
Yeah, obviously.
before we start arguing about it anymore.
What'd you say, Aaron?
I think we need to understand the state law before we start arguing about it anymore, and we need to all see it. Maybe Brad would put that together for us.
I didn't hear anybody arguing.
Wow.
I'm just going to throw this out here. Every month I get together with 6 mayors from local communities around here. Jenkins, Lakeshore, Pequot, Breezy Point, Nisswa. So it's just us local, we get together, have coffee, and see what's going on. And at the last meeting, I asked them in the group, I said, do you accept people not to be present for meetings? Do you accept Zoom? And there was no hesitation to all 5 of the mayors that no, they don't. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to it, but to be gone for an extended period of time is not an exception.
Like I go.
Yeah, I don't want to name you, but, you know, when
Well, you
you're,
have already, so I
when you
guess
go
I'm
for
gonna,
6 months a year, you know, that's.
you feel very strongly about the person one-on-one communication,
Yeah,
right? Then why don't you spend time in City Hall? We have 2 standards now. The one you want to talk about here and the one that you don't want to do in City Hall. I'm sorry I had to say that, but
I'm representing, I go out in the public, that's what they're the ones that elected me to be here.
Right.
City Hall is not a friendly place for me to spend time.
it is for me.
I know. It's not for me, you know, so.
And I tend to forget that at that one council meeting, I think it was Dave Schrupp and Dave Nevin and I here. And we're discussing items and budgets, and you tend to forget the other councilmen are present because they're on Zoom.
Yeah, fine.
Just so you have the flip side, if somebody were out of town and you have the choice of not having them participate in the meeting at all or having them participate, I argue that you're better off having as many of the 5 council members participate in the meeting as possible. And there may be reasons that 1 or more are not there. For whatever reason, I would rather have them on Zoom than not having them participate. I think you get a better city council involvement by having as many people on Zoom as possible, or here if possible, but there are all sorts of reasons that people aren't here. But I would say this council has done awfully well. I actually got involved watching city council back in 2017 when sometimes people weren't here. And this year, last 3 years, I would say people have been very careful to try to be here. Thanks.
Would this just apply to council meetings?
Yeah. I mean, that's when the
That's-
action takes place. The rest of it are all, you know, yeah, just a council meeting.
Because we had, at one time, we had a discussion where Brad was in Minneapolis with an attorney there, and Aaron and I and Mike, we were doing the whole business on Zoom. Otherwise, we would have had to spend all day driving down, sitting in the meeting.
That was not a council meeting. There
That's
wasn't a
right. That's why I asked
policy
the
being
question.
set. Yeah.
If it only applied to council meetings.
Yeah, it's not a commission, not a special, just the council where policies are set. Special meetings, we don't set any policies. We don't make any motions. We don't move it forward. Here's where it happens.
I think we should table action on this, refer it to Brad again, and find out if it's 3 meetings or not.
And I apologize, I didn't know that was the focus. I was focused on whether you could be more restrictive, and I think I didn't gather the right information that you wanted to know.
No, we
So
just
I-
want to be what is acceptable to the state and other communities and the public, you know, what's acceptable. So you're going to make a motion to table it, Marcia?
Yes, I am.
Okay, does anybody want to second that?
Sure, second.
Second by Aaron. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's tabled. Okay. Next, we have a resolution accepting donations. We've got donations from the Pell Foundation for $569.86. Intended purpose is the pickleball umbrella. Another one from the Pell Foundation for $128 for the Bridge Club room rental. Another donation from John and Virginia Miller for $50 for the library. One from Marty Hoffman, $27 cart tours at the park, I'm assuming. And Phyllis Fahey, $25 cart tours. So there's a resolution that we're going to have for that.
I'll make a motion to accept the donations.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we got a Public Safety Committee, Commission appointment. And I hereby recommend the following appointment to Public Safety Committee, Jamie Knapp. And I have not had the pleasure to meet Jamie yet, but is he here? Hello, Jamie. Thank you for putting your name in the hat. So do we have a motion to accept that?
I move to accept Jamie Knapp for the Public Safety Commission.
I second it.
Okay, motion a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, the issues at City Hall building, discussed unresolved issues. So Shar, do you want to take that, or Mike, do you want to?
I do just want to add one more thing to that list.
Okay.
Today is about the fourth group of people I had that have had issues getting in the building who have been in a wheelchair. They do not see the ramp at the other end of the parking lot. It's not marked. I think it needs to be marked. That was part of the
Is there any signage?
contract. There's no
Signage or anything?
signage. And they have all asked why it's not in front of the doors.
Yeah. Okay,
Have your doors been fixed yet, Eric?
No.
Okay.
And our door is not fixed. The other day we had bugs in here, those ladybugs, so I sprayed inside this little hallway and it was smelly. So I came in here and propped the door open and opened these windows to find out there's no screens in them. They open and all four of these windows have no screens.
are these the only ones in the
Is that an
building?
oversight from high tech or? No, they don't. Those are mine from my desk.
Yeah,
I moved them.
the rest of them have screens, these are the four that
These
don't.
are, that I noticed,
Yeah.
yeah. We just came upon them that
Well,
they
they
don't have
should.
screens.
And
No.
Andy, I mean, I've contacted him multiple times, Mike, you, same thing, nothing?
I
Yeah.
don't know if do we need the attorney to get involved to get these things fixed? I
Well,
don't
how much
know.
money do we owe him?
$11,000.
We could just,
I thought we directed Brad to do that last month. Didn't we, Brad? I think we did.
I had a conversation with Andy. He confirmed that the landscaping sign issues were not part of the contract, so that was, I think I gave you guys an email on that. The doors were, and he thought, what I was told was they'd be out here last week. I'm going off memory what week it was, but before now. So obviously that didn't happen. I think Dave was about to say that. I mean, at some point, you might want to give them some kind of notice, but the escrow, you could hire somebody else to do the work and use the escrow money to pay for it. I mean, that's
so the
what-
signage, he doesn't want to complete that now, is that what he
No,
told you?
he said that that's not, I should clarify that more. He's doing that pro bono, basically, because of all the work you've given High Tech, and it was not part of they're waiting on some lettering, remember, maybe I just told Mike, I can't recall who I told.
Well, I've heard that multiple
Yeah.
times,
So
since last
it was a
January,
supply issue. They're ready to do it, it's just they don't have the supplies in-house yet. The door thing, he apologized for and said they would get to it. But if they haven't, they haven't. So at some point, you need to give an ultimatum, a deadline, again, use the retainage to farm it out. I'm not saying that's back to, that's up to you guys to decide when and how you want to handle that.
I would just as soon not handle it that way, because if we do it that way, that kind of closes the door to their responsibility for anything forward.
It complicates the warranty period and other things that I would prefer to work with High Tech, and I'm sure they want to get to it. I don't have an excuse for them. I didn't know it hadn't been done. He knows of the issue, I know that.
Oh, I know that too. I don't think it's in our best interest to hire somebody else to come in and do their work. That would give them a door to hide behind later on.
Potentially, yes.
Mayor, how long do I have to wait that my door will close? I mean, it's a safety issue, it's a timing issue. If the officers have to get out, they're sitting there waiting for the door to close. How long do we wait on this?
Yeah, no, I believe me. What should we do? Give it to Brad one more chance, or do we just get somebody to fix it? I mean, I'd be okay with either one, but I just know when you bring somebody else in, it kind of muddies up the things moving forward.
I have no idea what's best to do, other than get the door fixed. And,
right.
You know, how it gets fixed is up to you guys, but we need to get that stuff fixed.
I guess, Brad, what I would do is I would ask you to give them a call tomorrow, and then you let us know what direction to take.
Just so I have a bit more confirmation here, it's not too strong to say, let's have a deadline of maybe a week from now or something, and at that point, we're going to consider other legal action. I don't want to say that without at least 3 of you nodding your head.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that you contact High Tech, give them 7 days to take care of the situation, or we will start the legal process.
I'll second that.
And I guess my comment to that is, what is the legal process?
Let's hope the 7 days works. If not, on day 8, I will give you a memo on potential things we can do. It seems to me is the way, and then we can't vote on that without a meeting, but I guess we're not meeting until November now. But potentially you could even call a special meeting if you want to.
Well, or we could just move it forward right now. Take action, whatever, I don't know.
Well, clearly you have the right to, you might need to give reasonable notice. I would argue 7 days is reasonable notice, but at some point, now you might not, the way the contracting world is right now, I'm not sure you can get anybody else out here either in a timely manner, but that is one of your obvious remedies. If they don't do it, they don't do it. I mean, you can keep the money, but that doesn't fix Chief Lee's door. So.
But then High Tech isn't liable for the repairs that are done to the doors,
Well, when I
right?
said question, it makes it more complicated. I mean, that maybe avoids the warranty issue on one door. I don't think that can, if something else structurally happens, I don't think that screws up all of your warranty arguments. We're talking about a pretty minor issue here, not the whole building. But it does muddy the, I agree with you that should not be your first option. You want to harass them as much as you can and get them to do it, and I'm sure they want to. They're all too busy.
Can you just, can we take over the process, but just tell them if the costs run beyond what the retainage is, they're going to pay that?
That's also fair to say.
You know?
Yeah.
So we're not hanging out in the wind.
Yeah.
No, whether they acknowledge it, who knows?
It's
But
an
I think
ongoing frustration. is what
Legally,
it
I
is.
think we could argue it cost us 13 grand, not 11. We only have 11 grand in retainage to complete the punch list. And some of them were health, safety related, and we couldn't wait any longer. That's not out of bounds, but how long is long enough? I mean, that's just completely a judgment call.
Would that be okay to add that language to your motion?
If it costs more.
Costs more than, if they don't respond in 7 days, we're going to start fixing them. And if the total cost is above more than our retainage, then they'll pay the total.
I thought Brad was going to give us a memo on our how to proceed, our choices on proceeding, rather than,
I can easily do that. I think the mayor was saying, I don't want to wait a month, but then we got to kind of
I don't want to wait.
figure this out on the fly in terms of how we're going to move forward.
I didn't want to wait a month, 6 months ago.
No, both points you're making are correct. I don't,
But, you know, to tell them that they're going to pay more is like barking at the moon, you know, whatever. It's a legal process.
at some point, we can definitely.
I think we need to fix what we need to fix, and we'll just take that out of the money, then nobody will say a thing about it, but we would like to have them come back and finish
But
their
it's fair to say we
contract.
might hire somebody else and use the retained.
Yeah.
Potentially cost more, and you're all on board with that.
Yeah, but I mean, some door issues and some things that
Yes.
are, yeah, we've waited plenty long.
so basically you're giving up on high-tech, and if it costs us more than what we're holding now, that's our problem, because they're not going to care.
Well, I would think they would care, Marcia. That's unfortunate. They're a good reputable company in a small area.
It doesn't seem like they care, otherwise they would have been here several months ago already.
I think we need a vote still on that motion, right? Or did we already vote?
Yes, we have not voted.
Yeah.
So what, I'll make a motion that we just ask you to move forward? And the motion is already
I think the
done.
motion to recap is a 7-day warning. If not, I will explain that we might seek somebody else to finish the job and maybe even seek damages if there's not enough money in the pot. Is what I'm hearing everyone say, but I want you all to hear that and vote
Is that
at
what
least
you
3-2 on
have?
that.
Char, is that what you have on the motion?
I have Marcia's motion.
Yeah, okay. Just go with it. So that's a motion. Do you have a second on it?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I guess I would say that if you can find somebody to fix that door, just let them fix it. I'm not sure who would do that. It's a commercial guy who does those kind of doors. I mean, they're kind of a pain, but door company or something, but I would just fix it. And the other ones too, because they're going to be damaged as time goes on, they're going to be
In
damaged.
order-
Wait a minute, we
Screens for
just
the windows,
instructed
or-
the city attorney to give them 7 days.
Well, I know, but nobody's going to care if those doors that are not working get fixed, including high-tech. And nobody's going to come in here tomorrow and fix them either, so it's just getting the ball rolling. But let us know as soon as you have that conversation too. Okay. I think we're done with the mayor and council person's report. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Item 1 under my report, we have Harlan Johnson from the Harlan V. Johnson Agency to look at our health insurance renewal. If you remember back in September, we presented the renewal quote from our provider, the Minnesota Healthcare Consortium, through Resource Training and Solutions. At that time, the request from council was to come back with what are some alternative plans that are available and what are the costs associated with that. Keeping in mind that in the environment we operate in, with 3 bargaining units in a governmental entity, no matter what we do, if we change what we have now, those are negotiated bargain benefits that have to be agreed to and negotiated with 3 separate unions. The other thing is we still have to end up in the same aggregate place with whatever we do. So I've asked Harlan to come back tonight and share his thoughts with that, knowing that we are really under the gun with this. And our renewal was due on October 1st, as we mentioned back in September. And we're trying to get this done tonight or have an alternative, because we've got, basically, we're overdue with getting this approved. So go ahead, Harlan.
Yeah, what he said. Speaking of deadlines, we're past the deadline with Minnesota Health Consortium, sorry. But their deadline was October 1st. Supposedly drop dead was Friday. I've been talking to them and said, if we get a decision tonight, I'll call them in the morning and they'll shoehorn us into the process. But there's a lot of groups involved in this, and their deadlines have are usually more strict than what's happened here. So did everybody look at their packet and enjoy those numbers? It's a lot of numbers. Bottom line is the closest plan to what we have is number 14, because these are all negotiated benefits, the maximum out of pocket, whether there's co-insurance or not, whether there's single and family rates or 3-tier rates or age-rated rates. Those are all negotiated benefits, and that's one of the reasons we're here with Minnesota Health Consortium, because they meet all those parameters. And it's my understanding that the 3 unions have agreed going forward.
They have agreed to what we have, provided we don't change what we have.
All right.
Would be a fair statement.
Yeah.
The other thing you should mention too is, I've talked with our labor attorney about this too. She encouraged us and had asked me to encourage the council to go ahead and make sure that we get this done. This year is not the year to dismantle health insurance when you're negotiating 3 contracts. And the key here is what we're trying to do is we have an obligation to provide the same net aggregate benefit. And on the numbers Harlan's provided you, what we tried to do is figure out what would that look like. And in doing so, when you look at a renewal like this, and Harlan, correct me if I misspeak, but we looked at what is the maximum out of pocket for the group that we're trying to cover with respect to the renewal. And how much does that change? And are the savings enough in the premium changed to buy back that benefit from the employee group so you end up in the same place? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the long and short of it is right now, you probably don't have time to change this. And I don't know, I'm not a labor attorney, how you reopen up negotiations and get something done, but I don't think you're going to lose the offer from Minnesota Healthcare Consortium. I'm not saying we can't get other offers. I'm saying that these guys meet every facet of the current contract. So I would suggest that you pass it. It's a 3% rate increase from last year, which is nice. We have had no groups with a 3% rate increase. Now, it's all relative to what the rate is. If you're the highest in the market and you get a 3% rate increase, it's horrible, but you're not the highest in the market. They meet all the parameters of the union contracts, and I would suggest to you that you vote to pass this, accept this, and if we want to change it in the future, we can look at what those parameters are, but
Harlan, this is the same policy from last year to this year with the
Yep.
3% adjustment, right? Now we're going into labor negotiations with unions coming up in the next month or whatever. And if part of that negotiations is deductible or something, can we still negotiate, or is this the end of the road, a done deal?
yeah, this is the end of the road for Minnesota Health Consortium. It's not for the industry in general. I don't know. There's a lot of things you brought up that was nice, Dave, but I can't guess what the union's going to say. But if you say, hey, we'd like to increase the deductible exposure for the employees and the maximum amount of pocket to hold premiums down or whatever the case is.
I don't know, but I mean, it's going to freeze the negotiation process, is what you're saying. There isn't going to be any negotiating.
This offer essentially is timed out.
Yeah, okay, and it expires on the first of the year? Is it annual, January to January?
Yeah, the current contract would
So the current
expire, yeah.
expires, so if we didn't accept this, we have till the first of the year to find something else.
I suppose, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think 3% is acceptable. And if if we wander off the deductibles, like I've talked to Mike, that anything we wander off the deductibles, we're gonna have to make up in some other area. So the lowest cost option is to continue with exactly the same benefit plan we have for the employees, which is the 3,000 deductible for single and 6,000 for family,
Yes.
at the rate shown on the top of the page here, so. Harlan, am I right that we only have 16 people in this group? We are a small group in terms of stuff. I think we need to really be serious about being part of this pool, because with 16 contracts, you've got a chance of going really off the wire if you try to do something on our own. I think we would get major benefit by being part of the consortium, and it sounds like tonight's a drop dead date for that. And we've got 3 unions to negotiate with. I just think it's a no-brainer to take what's available right now.
Is that a motion?
So I have a
Yes,
question.
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead.
I'll second the motion. Go ahead, Marcia.
Go ahead, Marcia, what were you going to say?
I was wondering, you say you have to give them the same plan as what they had before, and we're going from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Medica. How are they going to accept that?
I believe
That's
they
a
already
change
have.
in the plan.
They're identical.
They're completely
They're
identical.
completely identical. The only difference might be, there might be a few less chiropractors with Medica than there are with Blue Cross. Other than that, and it's 6 to 1, half a dozen of another. Medica may have some stuff that Blue Cross doesn't. It's as close as you can possibly be. It's the Minnesota Health Consortium, Marcia, laid out, this is what we have now, this is what you need to replace.
I know, we don't have a
Medica bid for
choice. We don't have a choice if we're going to be in the consortium. We don't have a choice. It's Medica or nothing, right? And the standard 14, so you have the row highlighted in yellow. There is no $3,000 deductible there. You want to go over that line?
The $3,000 deductible is at the top of the page. It's what you have now, and it's 100% after that. So it's a $3,000 deductible, then it pays 100%. If you're a single family, it's $6,000. If you go beyond that, it's paid at 100%.
Okay, so you have 7,000 there in that first column.
Yeah.
That's a deductible, right?
That's a maximum out of pocket. Oh,
And you go across.
7,000, yeah, in the first wide column, yes.
Yes.
14 family, and then the premium's 317. I think that's, why is that one highlighted?
317?
Because the
317,
Plan 14
502,
is
96.
supposedly the only one that's comparable to what we offered the unions the last time round. So the $4,000 deductible, is that in play?
Not really, because it's got co-insurance afterwards, and the max out-of-pocket is demonstrably, the deductible and the max out-of-pocket are demonstrably higher than what you have now.
Okay, so the 7,000 is the only deductible that's 0% after the deductible.
The
that what you're saying?
Plan 14 is the only one that's 100% after deductible, other than the plan you have.
The 4,000 and the 8,000 is not. What is
Right.
that?
The 4,000 and the 8,000 is the change between the plan number 14 that Harlan's
see.
talking about. The max out-of-pocket is 7,000 and 14,000, single and family. The plan that we're comparing it to, the max out-of-pocket is 3,000 and 6,000. The difference is 4,000 and 8,000 that you'd have to make up. The net overall change in the deductible that you would have to make up to provide the same aggregate benefit is $116,000. Your premium savings are $86,000 in order to do that. The other problem that you have is the max out of pocket is greater than the amount the participants would be able to contribute to an HSA account to make up that difference. So the only way to compensate that difference would be through additional salary or one-time payment. And if you did that, you'd have to add payroll taxes onto that total too. So that's what he was trying to show on this schedule is what changed from the alternatives in terms of the single and family and the monthly premium and the deductible max out of pocket, and how much premium savings do you have available to pay for that difference. And so in this case, the one that we're looking at, there's $116,000 of more deductible that would have to be taken care of, but there's $86,000 of premium savings to do that. So 116 is larger than 86, so you don't have enough money to pay for that difference with premium savings. So you'd have about, I think you've got it laid out on your front page, Harlan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to come up with about $30,000 of something that you'd have to pay, compensate staff for.
And that's assuming everybody maxed out their deductible.
Right.
I mean, if you gambled and said people aren't going to use it, then you might come ahead.
Yeah. It's
But
called
it's a gamble.
self-insurance.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think we should just move it on and, you know. Thing that makes me a little comfortable is they call it negotiations.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't feel
And I'd
like it's
to
much
work
of a
with you,
negotiation.
Marcia, and the rest of the council on alternatives for the near future.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, I hesitate because I don't know what the union demands are going to be. And that doesn't mean we all have to cower about the unions. It's just, right now, this plan meets their requirements. And we alter it and boom, you're into negotiations with 3 unions.
I think we are anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, was there a motion and a second here?
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll see how the negotiations go.
So be it. We're about to learn. Thank you, council.
Yeah, thank you, Harlan.
Marcia, did you vote? Were you in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 2 under my report is the update on the Transportation Alternatives Program grant, and I have Tim Bray, Crow Wing County engineer, who's been sitting patiently to talk a little bit about it. And what Tim's going to talk about is this year's funding cycle. And if you remember, we applied for this grant 2 consecutive times now. That would be twice in a row. We received a minor amount of funding the first time we applied. It wasn't enough or substantial enough for what the county and the city was willing to spend to make up the difference, so we denied that nominal amount. We applied for it again last year. Our application scored very well, and we were both a little surprised we didn't get some money out of it. So what we did was we took the grant application that we submitted last year. We deleted, or Tim deleted, the improvements that we did make on the 2 crosswalks, reset the budget for it to say, here's what we think our budget is. And what we're asking the council to do tonight is to authorize staff to submit a letter of intent for transportation alternative funding for fiscal year 2026. Now, attached to the memo I provided all of you, there's a transportation alternative schedule and program summary, the letter of intent, which we'll submit online. It's not an actual letter we print and sign and mail it to them. We do it on their web portal. There's an updated funding application. And then, provided the council approves this letter of intent tonight, Crow Wing County will request board action tomorrow because we need a sponsor. And the county's willing to do that for this program. Now, just be aware that this is not the time to say, well, we want to add to this project or or rescope it, or make intersection improvements, or expand it. We were all in agreement with this project for 2 years going. So our intent is not to change the overall scope of the project, but just to resubmit the application as adjusted for the items that we've completed already. And the graphics that are provided are the summary pages from the presentation I provided to Region 5 when we submitted our last application. So Tim is here to answer any question you might have on it that may not be addressed in the frequently asked questions that's provided with your materials. So go ahead, Tim.
Well, I think you teed it up quite well, and
Tim, this is for a 2026 deal. Now, if this is approved, could we have it approved this next year in 2022? Or is it gonna wait till 2025 before they approve it? Or do you know what that schedule is?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this federal money for this program is on a 4 to 5 year cycle. So it is money that the federal government will release or encumber in 2026. Last year was 2025 and so on. If we submit the grant application again together, it would not be scored and decisions be made on which projects are awarded the money until spring of next year. And that money would still not be available from the federal government until 2026. However, and it's actually in the questions that have been asked of me for many years is, can we move it up? And it's actually answered in the list of frequently asked questions that you have in your packet. And that just requires a little administrative action by the sponsor, which is the county in this case, and the applicant to front the money, knowing that the federal government will reimburse us both in 2026. So the construction can move up. It can't move up till 2022 though. We have to, there's the red tape and that we have to get through to make sure that the money.
But, I mean, we should do this, right? There's no reason not to do it, right?
Well, I hope not. This is the third year we've been here. We've really worked hard on the application. Mike and I have worked over the last couple of years. We really did some improvements over the year prior. And so there's a lot of good graphics in your package on exactly what we're trying to do. It's scoring very well. And if the city still wants to build the components that are there, including you built a couple of things just recently, but if you want to continue on with the sidewalk and trail extensions to make sure that there's continuity around the city, particularly senior housing and connecting.
Yep.
And there's some safe walkways on the business side of CASA 66.
And it's $500,000 is what this grant is
We're
asking for?
Excluding the four components that you just built, the total amount requested would be $505,000. Last year it was $561,000. The scope would be exactly the same as it was the previous 2 years.
Okay, well, I think we got to do it, but any other questions or anything?
And I assume the county would be willing to help try to get to let us start doing construction early if it were awarded, that you'd be for that.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Are we talking financial assistance from the county?
Well, the total project cost, and I don't know, Mike, if you included the letter of intent. So the first thing you got to do is the letter of intent, and went through some of the project costs. The total project cost is about $900,000. So the federal money, like in this particular case, like many others, requires a local match of 20%. And so the county and the city will share that 20%. And there's also some things that are ineligible, like engineering to actually design it. Right-of-way is not included, and some other things. So the total project cost, all said and done, all engineering, all the construction done, is $900,000. We're asking the federal government for over half of that, $505,000. The rest of it, we will have to together fund. And
I think
that's all
this is
laid
a
out.
good plan. And even though we have to put some in, we've all said we wanted better walkability from the time the design team was here, so.
The question I have is, we added these two, then we did them this year, okay? But we had discussed about 3 others. Have they been kind of included into here? Crosswalk issues and so forth. And I realize the speed study has to take place before we'll know whether we actually can or not. In other words, lower the speed limit. Do you know when that'll happen?
I have been talking with MnDOT, and their study has been, the actual measurements have been taken, and they're formalizing the final response.
Okay, good.
So, and I'll come back and again and talk about those findings.
But the other 3, whatever it was, intersections, then that is being considered then in this project as well?
No, it is not. The
Yeah,
project
it's not.
scope.
It's north of there.
Okay.
Right, the project scope
Oh, that's
associated
right.
with this project stops
Yeah.
at Eagle Trail, and that's
Okay.
where the end of the sidewalk would be, and the last flashing beacon. In last year's proposal, there was 4 of these flashing beacons proposed, but during the evaluation process, actually at Region 5, it was pointed out to us that we were improperly using them at a stop sign. That isn't where you put those. So we took that one out of the scope. And so the only one that remains is up by Crafts and Cones at Eagle Trail.
Okay,
The other ones you talked about are in the 45-mile-an-hour zone north of the bridge.
great. Okay, thank you. That answers me.
So I make a motion, we move this along.
I second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Tim, thank you very much.
Thank you. And just if I add another note, tomorrow at the county board meeting, we're passing very similar, or being asked the board to pass similar resolutions supporting and moving forward. So,
Thank you.
Thank your colleagues.
thank you.
Thank you, Tim. You know, once we get the county approval, we'll go ahead and fill that paperwork out and get it done. The last item on my report is item 3, a memo dated from myself talking about GASB 75 for consulting services. And what GASB 75 requires us to do is for the employee benefit plans that we currently have, is we're required to figure out what those would look like if those plans were exercised, meaning what future obligation do we have to fund those plans and how much is that and what does all that mean? And so the short story is every year we have to update those disclosures in our financial statements. And prior to GASB 75, we were under the rules of 45. You might remember those, Tom? Yep, GASB 75 replaced 45 in 2018 is when we adopted it. So there were some minor changes to that. So it's basically an actuarial valuation of our benefit plans called Other Post-Employment Benefits for Retirees. It's not a choice for us to do this, we're required to do it. So I'm asking for permission to execute the contract with our actuary to make that happen. And the cost of the contract and the disclosures is just under $4,000.
Okay. Question in my, when you go back to the last page where it says agreement for consulting services, it says for 2022, the cost is $3,100.
Right, and there's additional disclosures of $800 to $900
Okay.
right next to that. So that's where we get approximate value of $4,000.
Okay.
I make a move that we agree to this consulting agreement.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any other questions on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Mike. Is that it for you, or you got
That's it
another
for me.
one? Commission reports. Ted, are you going to come up and do yours?
I think it's public safety first.
Oh, okay. Bob?
I believe you have the proposed recommendations in your packet.
They are all grouped together.
Right, there are.
Mayor, I'll come up and discuss mine.
Okay, so,
Chief Lee and Chief Lowmiller. So yeah, they're the best people to come up and discuss it.
yeah, I mean, even the functions probably, huh? Bob?
Functions, sure.
Yeah, do that first one.
All right. We decided we needed to have some functions and guidelines for the Public Safety Committee, and we incorporated the current ordinance into this. And we looked at several other cities, 4 other cities, I guess, around the country, and looked at their guidelines, their functions, and took that and worked it into what we thought would work well within Cross Lake. So that's the proposal you have in front of you.
I don't see the guidelines in front of us though, Bob, we don't. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it's the next one back. Got it.
It's a 1-page document.
Yep.
Are you looking for comments in from us? I guess so, right?
Right.
I guess one of the things that, I don't know if we should be dealing with ambulance services or telling them what to do. That's just one comment. The other thing is when you come down to duties, number 4 and 5, I don't believe that any other commission has the ability to talk about department compensation, benefits, that type of thing. They should go away. So and then when you talk about meetings are open to the public, it says due to the confidential nature of some discussions by the commission, portions of the meetings may be closed. I don't believe that we closed any other meetings other than the personnel meeting. So I think we have to have something that has that stuff out of there.
Well,
If you're looking at the current one, that's in the open meeting law described by Minnesota statutes, chapter 13D. So that tells you when you can or when you must close a meeting.
Right.
And
and it may have been left in there because you were thinking about talking about compensation. But see, we have a personnel committee, and that's their job to deal with that type of thing. So
our meetings are generally open to the public, but if you look at the list from the Department of Administration for the state of Minnesota, it talks about closing a meeting. And there's a list when meetings must be closed and when meetings may be closed. That's a pretty lengthy list, so we're just following the state law.
and all as it is a recommendation from the committee. They're not,
With respect to closing meetings, it's my understanding, and Brad, correct me if I misspeak, but only the governing board has the authority to do that, not a commission.
Yeah.
oh, okay, well.
So there's a lot of reasons to close meetings. I'm familiar with the statute. There's a lot of reasons why a meeting could be closed, but only the governing board has the statutory authority to do that, is my understanding.
That's what we've been told. Only the city council can close meetings. What's the difference between commission and committee?
I don't know if there is one.
We were told there isn't one, and since all the other commissions are commissions, we decided it would be best to be consistent, and this would also be a commission.
In the current,
I thought Public Works was the only commission.
No. Yeah.
Park and Rec is a commission or not a
it
committee?
is a commission.
And I think the answer on number 4, one of the things, it was discussed, and we cannot discuss compensation or anything with police because of the union. But because the fire department does not have union, we could talk about comparisons to other areas. And that's the only thing we ever did. Okay.
Are we abolishing the personnel committee?
Well, no, this is just discussion.
But isn't that the description of the personnel committee? I mean, aren't they the ones that take care of interviews, staffing, compensation, and make recommendations to the city council? I mean, if we're going to have public safety do it, why don't we abolish the personnel committee? Because I think we're not using it just because of who's on there.
Well, public safety, I believe Marcia is specific, and it's specific to public safety. It's not all of them. But, you know, maybe it shouldn't happen there. I don't know.
I don't believe it should. But we have a personnel committee, and that's the city council now.
So maybe the public safety should just make a recommendation to the personnel committee to do something, or, I don't know.
On those, well, I don't know why they're considering it anyway, when it go to the personnel anyway.
Sometimes when you have discussion, you get better ideas. And you got about 6, 7, 8 people sitting there that can all give input from different directions. And I think that's one of the problems that we have. We don't accept that input sometimes from the others, and we need to start doing more of it.
If I can, real quick, I think regarding number 5, that would be Chip or I retiring. The Public Safety Committee might want to make a recommendation to the council regarding if there is a, well, what was it, Springstead or who else, Mike, does national searches for police and fire chiefs, that type of thing. They would make that recommendation to the council regarding that. Now, when you hire a new police chief or a new fire chief, what you're going to be doing is you're going to have initial interviews, and then the council will have the interview, the final interview. And that's typically how it works. That's when I've been through that process. That's how it's worked. So you've got someone else doing the legwork and bringing it to you. I think that's what the Public Safety Commission was trying to get done.
And North has asked to be a part of it because they are part of the safety, and if they are having problems with different things, they can bring it to police and fire, and they can get, you know, suggestions. So I think they are an important part of it, yeah.
And honestly, we're just trying to find our purpose right now. We're coming to you and asking for a purpose. Committee was designed without a
I agree with Dave Schrupp that Form 5 should be out of there, and that there is no legal closing the commission meeting without, that's got to be done by the city council.
So that's just going to limit some of the topics you talk about in the meeting. Yeah, and I don't know that we came up with one that required it to be closed to this point, but we were just looking forward.
Well, there certainly could be. I mean, we've talked about that, different issues, which is why we looked this up, when meetings must be closed and when they may be closed. And I think it's pretty clear if you read this.
I know, but we've been through this, and the city council has the only authority to close a meeting. We've been told that. That's why the personnel committee changed from 2 council people, because it couldn't be closed, and it went to the entire council.
Brad, what do you got to add to this? Anything?
Well, I think you're highlighting that maybe certain functions, we're all trying to figure out what this committee's going to do and not do. I do agree that the simplest way around around's the wrong word. If you want to have a closed meeting, some functions maybe should be done at the council level, not the committee level, or the commission level, whatever you call it. That doesn't mean they don't have a function. There's all kinds of things you can do to talk about public safety that would not be closed meeting items. Or they might just decide that it needs to go to close and have some discussion, and to the extent they can't finish their discussion, recommend that the council finish that discussion with a memo from that committee on what they believe the issues are that need to be decided. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not saying the committee can close a meeting because they can't.
I'm saying that if you're trying to figure out what this committee can do and not do, which is what they're looking for, some direction, if there are some things that need to go to closed session, I think those need to get tagged to the council, not be finished at the committee level. They could be started there, but to the extent they want to go into close, I think they need to say, hey, we've gone as far as we can go. We need to now ask the council to get involved.
So can we brainstorm what type of discussion would require a closed meeting?
They're right here on the second page.
No, I mean, I don't have that, but just tell us what, you're not going to talk about discipline for an employee that's in the public safety
So
realm.
if Antifa, we're going to come up this weekend to town or something, I don't know.
I'm just looking
What
for
would-
one thing.
What would
that
be an
you-
example?
You know what I mean? I mean, most of the time it's a personnel-related thing, which,
I don't
I don't think,
think
that doesn't belong there.
There
don't
could
believe that was
be
the
use of force review. So use of force is anything from hands-on to handcuffing to less lethal to non-lethal to lethal weapons. And by state statute right now, we have to review any use of force. Now, granted, if we're handcuffing someone, we don't necessarily have to meet regarding that. But we do have to have a review of that action. So I'm not sure where that is on the data privacy realm, but that might be something that, if I have the Public Safety Committee do a review of use of force.
So that would be
That could
an actual
potentially be
incident
something.
that one of the officers went overboard in somebody's opinion?
Anything.
I don't know that that belongs there either.
Well, and
I
that's
wouldn't want to
something
be
that
the
I've got
guy,
to do.
I wouldn't want to be on the commission to have to evaluate that. It's personal,
That's personnel.
yeah, and personnel. I think that if you take out 4 and 5 and alter where it says meetings are open to public and delete the rest, I think it's a good start.
Well, and there's just going to be certain things we can't discuss that we need to discuss. We just can't do it then.
Yeah. I guess at this point, we'll have to settle for that and look into it further, see if there's a way around it. I don't think we're going to get any farther than that tonight, though, Bob, so.
Well, apparently,
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I mean, it's pretty clear here in the state law.
I'll refer that to Brad. I think we've had this discussion that only the council can close. Only the council has legal authority.
But did you review this when you had that discussion? Things involving active criminal investigations, alleged victims, reports of criminal sexual conduct, domestic violence, maltreatment. There could be people that approach us for that because they're more comfortable coming to us.
I guess I'll refer it to Brad. You can check into that, but that's what we were told. The city council is the only one that has the legal authority to close meetings. And I guess if that's changed, then we need to know that.
So Brad, can you do that? Help us out with that?
I'll confirm again on more of the criminal law enforcement arena. I don't think it's a different answer, but we didn't talk about it in the last time we talked about it, so I can verify that.
Okay. Moving right along.
Eric?
So are you going to take this,
Table.
table it and have them come back with a new one? Or,
Well, or we could accept it except for those two, 4 and 5, and then we could always review that later.
Are you changing the closing? Are you gonna leave it, meetings are open to the public?
Yeah.
Yeah, period.
Okay. I mean, if you're gonna accept this, that's what you're excluding, and excluding 4 and 5,
Right,
right?
correct.
Can we come back with some other verbiage?
So do you want to table it for now?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that we can modify in there, some verbiage, and come back with something a little more clean. Again, we haven't gotten direction from the council on what you want this committee to do, so we're just kind of searching right now.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'll table, I'd make a motion to table it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yep.
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Good evening.
Hello.
You have the memo, I guess, from the Public Safety Commission. We don't have the minutes, approved minutes from last week's meeting. But in that meeting, my 3 memos to you regarding sergeant position. I'd like to take Jake, Sergeant Meyer, Interim Sergeant Meyer, and move him to permanent. He's shown me some great skills this last month. I'm really impressed with him, and I think he's kind of found his niche. He would be on probation for a 6-month period, and we reevaluate at that time, or evaluate as we go along, I should say.
The sergeant's position is going to be union, right? And he's
Sergeant
part of this-
position is part of MINP, yes.
Is in the new contract?
Yes.
So we've been told by the mediation board not to make any decisions on hiring or any promotions, demotions, whatever the case may be. I think it might be a good thing for us, since we're in those negotiations, just to leave him as interim sergeant until we get through the negotiations, because I think we were directed to do that. We were directed not to do anything with the employees that were going into this union.
All right, I was not made aware of any of that last week.
Yeah.
When I brought that up, I
So
would have.
I don't have a problem with just, I mean, it's not going to change anything except for interim in front of his position, right?
Yeah,
I
'cause
mean,
he
we can
won't-
do, next month, if we're further along in union negotiations, we could do something like that.
Okay.
But I'm thinking, when we were told not to do anything, maybe we should listen. That's just my opinion, because
You agree with that,
That's what
Mike, or no? You don't agree with it? Didn't they specifically say, don't change anything while this process is going on?
Well, they had a status quo order. They didn't say you couldn't fill open positions. This was an open position.
yeah, I don't see any rush. I mean, he still has the position, so I don't see any rush in doing that, since we are negotiating the union contract.
I think at least so we have an opportunity to ask Jessica, but that's kind of like with the bills, you know? I mean,
Is that something you'd like us to follow up on with?
yeah, well, or we could do it at our next meeting or whatever, or follow up with her and see.
Because you'll be speaking with her tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
That's a question you could
Yeah.
ask, so you could clear it
Yeah.
up right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Shar, you're not gonna be in that meeting tomorrow, are you? Or are you? Let's bring up the other thing too. I mean, let's clarify that.
okay.
Yeah. Okay,
So we
Are
tabling
we
this
tabling it then?
for 30 days or waiting for a decision and then?
I think it's
Make a
until
motion
tomorrow when
pending.
we have a chance to ask the question, Eric.
Okay. All right. Secondly, again.
Hold on one second.
Yep.
Would you be comfortable in making the motion pending confirmation with your attorney, your labor attorney?
Yes?
I think we should just table action on it until we know for sure. And it's not changing absolutely anything except for he's not going to a full-time position this month. It's not changing anything, right?
Well, he
It's not
isn't-
changing
he
anything.
It's not
isn't
changing
full-time.
anything in it.
Yeah.
You guys make the decision. I'm making the recommendation.
it's not changing the full-time, it's full-time position now,
Yeah.
so.
I'll table action till next month. And following meeting with the labor attorney tomorrow.
That's a motion?
Yes, that is.
Okay. We need a second.
I'll second it. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Did you
I'm gonna
get,
abstain.
you're gonna abstain?
Yep.
How many ayes did you get?
That's true.
Let me do a roll call vote, because I didn't get it all. Zebra-Bowles,
Yes.
Herzog,
Abstain.
Nevin,
Yes.
Schrupp,
No.
Andrews.
No.
I'll make a motion that we allow this promotion subject to a discussion tomorrow.
There's a secondary thing here. Are we under Robert's rules? Are we?
What are you trying to add? I mean, that vote did not.
Does the
mayor's
mayor,
vote doesn't
does the mayor
count.
break a tie?
No, the mayor can't.
No?
Only on the one that you caught me on that I was unaware of that. There was one, like filling a council vacancy. That was
Okay.
very specific.
All right.
But in general, no, you don't break ties.
Okay, so,
Oh, I think I'd like to move him ahead to his proper position based on Eric's recommendation, promotion, pending a discussion with Jessica Durbin tomorrow. And if that comes back as it's okay to do, then you can do it. So you won't find out till tomorrow afternoon, and that's my motion.
I second that.
okay, if we're gonna do this, then I wanna have, how is the pay grade gonna change? What's gonna happen with the pay? Eric Swanson is paid, how many years has he got? I mean,
I
and is Jake gonna
Honestly-
just jump in and take over there? I mean, that's where I'm going with my question, so.
think that's probably a discussion for personnel I mean, right now, he's at $32 an hour. I would suggest that we started Swanson at $32.50 back in 18. So
If you wanna move it to the personnel, that's fine, but I just think we should discuss it.
I'm at a loss for what would be best.
Why don't we chat and we can come back with a recommendation?
Okay.
Who's we though? Who's gonna chat about it?
I can talk with Eric and see what he's recommending. We can look at years of service, competency, those kinds of things, and then if you want to call, you're the chairman of the personnel committee.
Right.
So you can call a committee meeting for compensation, retroactive to his appointment date, which would be today, provided that's okay with the labor.
Yeah, okay, well, I'd just like to talk about that,
Yep.
so.
So do
I
you want to
understand.
talk about that?
So why aren't we tabling this?
I think maybe we should wait and get the number included. It's probably the right way to do it.
What I was prepared is that at the end of the 6-month probationary period, that we might move him to a higher wage.
That he would stay at
At
32
32
for 6 months.
For 6 months.
I don't think in the committee meeting, though, that's what you stated. You said you were gonna talk to Mike and come up with a starting wage. So alls I wanna be is just
Yep.
clear on it, moving into it, so.
Well, and I think I did mention that, but whether it was heard or heard by a couple,
Yeah,
we
I
talked
heard
a
it.
lot there.
I heard it. So whether it goes to the personnel committee or whatever, that should be part of the discussion before we get into it. So that's all I would like to see happen.
Is a proper thing. I'll withdraw my motion.
And I would draw my second then.
What time?
Thank you, Dave Schraub.
Are we gonna table it then? Is that where we're at?
I would like to table action on that until next month. We will have talked to the labor attorney, and if the personnel committee needs to meet to discuss a wage, all that can take place. So why are we rushing this when it's not changing anything except for the interim title? So I'll make that motion to table it again until
Okay.
next month.
And I will second that. Any other discussion on it? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to table it till next month. Thank you, Eric. Okay.
Thank you.
Now you got another one.
Another one, Cody Haynes. I brought him into the Public Safety Commission meeting last week, introduced him to everyone. He introduced himself, gave a little history of himself. He is performing at an incredible rate right now. He's mature, he's knowledgeable, and we need to keep him. We need to put an investment into him. I want to move him to full-time. He's committed to us. He's turned down a job, as I told you before, with the county, which was probably a higher paying job to be here. He is rooted in the community, and I think we need to reach out and grab on.
Yeah, he does live in the community, which I really like. So,
So, isn't there steps that he would just fall in?
He would start at starting wage.
Yep, so that's already set.
And again, he would have 6 months probation, and the full-time, he is still completing field training. He's still riding with another officer, probably for another month and a half yet. But from talking to the officers that he's been working with, like I said, he's doing an exceptional job. So I say we move him to full-time. We've seen some savings with health insurance and wages over the past few months with officers having left, health insurance families going to single. So we've seen some decent savings from having these guys part-time. So I'd like to see them moved to full-time.
yeah, I agree. I'll make a motion to that extent.
I'll second it, to hire Cody Haynes.
Any other questions or discussion on it?
It's a starting wage, not step one. It's
Starting.
starting wage.
Yep.
Okay.
With a 6-month probation. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Last one. Looking at purchasing a new vehicle next year, and it's a 2022 Ford SUV Police Interceptor, just like we have right now from 1040 Ford at a cost of $34,184.38. That would replace the 2017 Ford Explorer and at its 5-year rotation. We've got two 2017s. One will be able to make it another year without a problem. One of the items that came up in discussing with Mr. Kolstad was that planning and zoning does not have a vehicle. He is using his own vehicle for work. In years past, prior to going to planning and zoning with the county, planning and zoning and Parks and Rec would take our old squad cars and they'd use them for work rather than their own personal vehicles. We are on the hook when John and TJ get in their personal vehicles and they drive for work. They might be compensated at 57 cents an hour or a mile or whatever it might be, but this is a good vehicle. It's a silver one. It'll match the other public works vehicles. It'll, be marked with a Cross Lake, City of Cross Lake logo on it. And John and anyone else, for that matter, in the city, if they're using it for city purposes, if Shar or Mike or Cheryl or whomever has to go somewhere, they can use that. It should be a good vehicle for 4 or 5 years to come. So basically, I'm looking for permission to order the new squad vehicle, police vehicle, not set up yet.
And that's in your budget,
It's in the budget for next year,
and it's
yes.
gonna cost 20 grand to put the bells and
Yep.
whistles on it?
Yep, it's about 20 or 16 to 20 weeks delivery time on that.
Yeah, so we got
So
one
that's why
car
I'm ordering it
budgeted
now
next
for
year.
next year.
I like the idea of having a vehicle for parking, whoever, a floating vehicle, yeah.
Good idea.
Do we have any cost comparisons on if we're ahead of the game with
This
IRS
is under the
mileage
state.
versus?
This is under the state contract, so I'm not gonna get it at a,
No.
Oh.
I'm talking about keeping the old vehicle. Do we have any cost comparisons on whether it's a better deal to go with IRS mileage versus keeping the vehicle,
well,
insurance, maintenance, and all that other stuff?
I understand that, and I guess the two people to talk to would be the two that are using their personal vehicles for work.
And even the Planning and Zoning Commission, when they go out on tours and stuff, they take their own, I mean.
Yes,
that-
they do, and they don't get reimbursed for it.
Right, and this, there's, 4 guys can jump in this thing and go.
So,
to have
TJ, do you use your personal vehicle? I thought now that you had 2 pickups that you're good to go.
My staff uses both pickups. I have 2 park maintenance staff members, so when one's on the trail and one's in the park or running errands, they use those pickups. When I run to town, pick up, run errands for up at the front counter, grab paper at Office Max, I use my own vehicle. When I go Ace Hardware to pick up something quick, I use my own vehicle because those trucks are getting used. I just did replace my tires and I got an oil change, so I don't get reimbursed for that stuff.
Well,
I only get reimbursed for mileage.
IRS mileage takes that all into consideration.
It does not. I worked in logistics for the Air Force for 25 years. Vehicle management was one of the things that I did. It doesn't even cover a third of what the cost is. And I'm just telling you, the 56 cents a mile is nowhere near what we need to get to drive our own vehicles.
I think it's inappropriate for us to require employees to use their own vehicles for city work, so I think this is a great idea. Thank you.
So when planning and zoning has the vehicle and TJ's needs the vehicle, how are you handling that?
Gonna wait.
I think we have to wait until that vehicle comes about. I mean, if there's another vehicle, maybe next year or 2023, when the other 17 squad comes out, and we have to sell it or we turn it over to Parks and Rec.
So we're going to keep the next vehicle too then? I guess
up to
I
you.
would just like a cost comparison. How many miles do we actually put on? And how much we pay out in mileage? That kind of thing.
I think the city, just from a planning and zoning, taking tours, I've always take my truck or take whoever's truck, and I think the city should have a floating vehicle that they could drive so people don't have to drive their own.
Yeah,
So then no one's going to put in for mileage reimbursement if we have this vehicle?
You can't say that because there's going to be exceptions.
And I think it's time that we have a truck that's identified as city showing up on
But
residents. So you don't worry about something, you show up, who's driving down the driveway now? Well, it's,
Yeah, it should be marked.
I should let you know too,
City
I've actually had dogs jump on the side of my vehicle and scratch it up before. The city doesn't cover that.
right.
Crossing. So,
Eric,
I
are
make a
you-
motion, we approve
I'll second,
your request.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor.
Okay, just to be clear, that was purchase of the vehicle and
Yeah.
planning and zoning
Yes.
taken. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Eric,
Thank you,
one question for you. Are you going to leave the lights on for John?
No, no lights on for John. For TJ, I will, next year.
All right, thanks.
Oh, and one other thing, we had a great turnout at the chili cook-off. The police department had chili. And we had those mugs that we sold, and it cost us 4 cents.
No, you made $24.96.
And we made $24.96. So that promotional money that we used, and Cindy, I see she's out there,
But then we just use that for the ad, so.
then we just use that for the ads. That's
So
right.
you recovered that much?
Right. So Cindy won the raffle of the cooler, Cindy Mugato, so we were happy that she got that, so.
I just have one more question.
Yep.
Where are you going to house this extra vehicle? Is it going in the police garage, or where's it going? We're not going to build another building?
I'm not housing it. That's John's problem.
Well, I think it's something that we should know up front.
I think it does have a warmer for the oil pan. If we can leave the charger in it, he can probably park out here and leave it plugged in. I think that'll work. That's what we did in the past, although we never had a outlet that we could actually plug something in. And we have cameras that we can see things now too, that we didn't see before. Okay?
Yep.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I want to say one more thing about the Public Safety Committee is last month, they got the blinking light crosswalks installed. And Bob and the committee, you guys did a good job in a pretty timely, and Tim, you had a little bit to do with it, but I mean, we got it done and it didn't take us 2 years, so congratulations to you on that. Okay, next is who? Public Safety, Chip? Yep.
Good evening. As you recall, last month I brought to your attention that the service for our armor radios in the new fire hall is very poor, and that was brought to my attention by the ambulance, and then we recognized it as well, and then we had Granite Electronics come out and do a test which showed that there's very poor reception in the building, similar to what we had here at the City Hall. So I did get the quote from Granite Electronics. It was in your packet for $16,456 or $55.57 to get the antennas installed so we have service inside the building.
And that covers the ambulance garage also?
The whole building.
And the ambulance garage has got difficulty?
Correct.
Same thing?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how you functioned.
You
You know.
can't. Nope.
I talked to Kevin from North, and he said that they got us, it sits on the kitchen counter, and when they're in the back rooms or something, they
Well,
can't.
he has to put them in the window, but sometimes that doesn't work either.
So,
So,
anyway, it makes sense to me to move this forward. They got to be able to communicate.
I may make a motion that we approve this expenditure.
I second it.
Okay? Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you.
Motion carries. Thanks, Chip.
Your tower.
All right.
I think. Am I next? I think this was in your packet last month. No? Oh, I thought we had it in there. Okay. So the commission went through the training tower and the Cross Lake Fire Department facility use agreement and operations manual fee schedule, et cetera, for the new fire station. They approved everything in it. I'm not going to go through and read word by word, but we have fee schedule for training room, the use of the training tower. We follow all the other city ordinances on costs and fee schedules. So looking for approval to put this and move this forward.
So the actual fee schedule isn't part of this?
No, it's on the back page.
Oh, okay. So this is back to when we built the building and, you know, we were questioned what we needed that for, but so this is a good area use that we can use for it, and we are gonna collect something. Should we just run through a few of those charges or not? I mean, does the public, they don't know what they are. I think they're good charges, you know. Police and fire tactical use of tower, it's $100 an hour with 2-hour minimum, $400 a day. You know, so the point of it is that we are, the city is getting something back for using that facility. So that's the only point of it.
I make a motion to approve the Cross Lake Fire Department Training Tower Facility Use Agreement, Operations Manual, and Fee Schedule.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All in favor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
So will those fees be reviewed every year along with the other fee schedules?
The fee schedule is brought to the council in January of every year.
Okay. Because I've never had a comparison for a tower, training tower.
We looked at many of them in the metro and some of the outstate. We had Kevin Sedevy, when he was chair, brought to the commission, was 7, 8 of them, I think. And then we worked together to come up with the fee schedule. It's pretty much what everybody else charges.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair fee schedule. I was glad to see that. So, Eric, go ahead.
I'm back again, I guess.
Yep.
The Public Safety Commission discussed no parking zone right out here, 66 and Daggett Bay Road. We approved that as a recommendation to the council, but we had to get on the docket with the county. They are coming out tomorrow to paint the curbs. So if you
So
don't
they're in
approve
agreement to it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were fine with doing it, they just needed to get it on the schedule. So the recommendation was 100 feet north of Daggett Bay Road and to the south end of the List Financial Building, Lake Place. And there's gonna be a yellow curb out there. We're having a very difficult time when we're pulling out and they're busy. And if we're having a difficult time seeing out there, others are. So we're asking permission for that.
And I think to extend that, Eric, we're going to look at all the rest of the approaches that are blind.
Yep.
You know,
Yep, that
from
was the
both sides of the
discussion
road.
that we're gonna continue on the 66 corridor to see what's gonna be the best place to park and not. And that's only on the east side of the road, just so you know. And I did talk to Steve from 14 Lakes, and I let him know that this is what we were looking at doing, so that it wasn't a surprise to him if you guys push it forward, that all of a sudden out front, he's gonna have yellow curbs.
But why do you say only on the east side? Don't you think there'll be some chances of some west side approaches?
I don't think there will be any obstructions over there. Shouldn't be. The Cross Avenue, Cross Lake, I can't remember the road, Newman's entry, Cross Lake Road, is to the south. That's way down. Up to the north, we got quite a distance up to Sundance. So I think we're okay on the west side, in front of here.
I make a motion, we request that the county do this and paint those signs, especially out here, then further discussion on other areas.
I second it.
Okay. Any discussion on it?
I should point out one thing, the county wanted to hold off on signage, no parking signs, just see how it went. If it, we're not getting compliance with the yellow curbs, and then we'll discuss putting in signs.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The second thing we discussed was getting the police department sign out by the city hall sign, the green signs on north and south of Daggett Road. There's no indication that the police department's back here right now, and I think that would be a cost to us. I haven't figured that out, but it's not a whole lot of cost. We can use donation funds to cover those costs and getting directional signs for the police department. I would have had a lot more people at the chili cook-off had I had those.
So there's north and southbound, 2 signs?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good idea. I make a motion that we replace the city hall directional signs with city hall and police department signs.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks,
Thank you.
Eric. Public Works, Ted.
Good evening. First one you have is a resolution for the sewer extension. It went to Public Works on October the 4th, and all were in favor to move it forward to the council.
So it's moving forward to design stage. Preparations to have the bid packet put together. Right.
The bid packet together and talk about the easements with people, the next step.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? Motion on it?
I make a motion that we approve the resolution ordering improvement and preparation of plans for sewer extension project.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All in favor. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next part, I'm going to just mention here real quick. There was a request from the Bolton and Mink through Phil Martin for a fee amendment to work they've done and work that needs to take place in this next part. They've used the money up so far. The commission was in favor of this. It amounts to about $17,530. I don't know if, Phil, you got anything to add to it, or?
I'll answer questions.
I guess the only question I have is it's all in line with the estimate for the total project. I mean, you're just chipping away at it.
For the total project, we used 20% as a placeholder. We're tracking well under that.
But I mean, it's all going in that direction.
Correct. So 5,000 of it is because we've done things, originally in the proposal, we started in 2018. We thought in 2019 we're going to be at the position we are today. So we've done duplicate things, duplicate public hearings, duplicate stuff. And now, and some of the costs, then is the next step, the negotiations. We've requested to do it on an actual hourly because we made an assumption like it's going to take us, if there's 15 parcels, we're going to invest X amount of hours in each parcel trying to get stuff negotiated. If we can do it for less, then we just charge less.
Yeah.
If it takes longer, you're going to know it because we're going to be in front of you saying, well, we're still trying to work on this one. So. A little catch up and the stuff to come.
That's 2C, right? Engineering services. So do we have a motion for that one to approve it? Or anybody got any other questions for Phil?
I move we approve that amendment, adjusted cost.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next one is on September 14th, Bolton and Mink on our behalf opened bids for the clarifier repairs. If you remember right, it was originally estimated about 550,000. Last spring, because the way bidding was going and costs were escalating, they estimated it to be almost $1 million for the project. We were pleasantly surprised when they opened the bids. They came in a low bid of $447,600 and the high bid of $545,000. Mr. Groutman has gone through it, and his recommendation is that we award it to Rice Lake Construction Group for $447,600. The commission reviewed it, and their recommendation is to move forward.
I'll make that motion to approve Rice Lake Construction Group bid of $447,600 for the clarifier
Second.
improvement.
We got a motion, a second. Is that 2 clarifiers or just one?
Both clarifiers.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on that? God, I hope the road comes in that way.
This will be done this winter, one or both?
This project, both, well, they'll do one at a time because we
Yeah.
can't shut the whole place
Yeah.
down. So they'll do one side, get up in operations, make sure everything's working right, then flip over to the other side.
Okay, thank you.
And that's the plan, is to do it through the winter into next spring.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second on that? Or did we already vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Is it the council's intent to direct me to go get some money for this?
I suppose we're gonna have to, huh?
And come back with some proposals? Because we're looking at a total cost here, a total project cost of $565,710 for this. I can come back with some proposals for
Yeah.
funding on
Got
it.
a motion for that? I'll make a motion to direct the city administrator to obtain funds for the clarifier project.
I second it.
I guess the only discussion I'd have is, didn't we have some money set aside for that? Through budgeting or something? Wasn't there some money for that?
No, the intent was to bond for it once we decided what we were going to do.
So that wasn't part of the 400 or something that we had, or? Okay.
Are we bonding at the same time to upgrade the pump stations?
That's what we'll look into.
That's
See
what
when
you-
the best time to do that. Depending on the timing, I may be coming back to you with the reimbursement resolution.
Okay.
If that's the path we go, but we'll look at both of them.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Marcia, was that
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Mr. Mayor, the next one is, we've asked the engineer to send letters to the affected property owners for 2022 road projects. Status, who's, assessments, all the information, approved information, you kind of a little bit of an outline in it. And with the engineer's help and with the city clerks, we'd get those out to all the affected property owners. It was kind of the direction from the commission. They all thought it was a really good idea, so everybody's informed and kind of tell everybody where we're at as of today.
So is this road and sewer or just road?
Right now, we were talking roads. I don't know if we're at a point, we'll do both entities.
Both is on the back page, right? On the back page of G2E?
Yes, it is, I'm sorry.
I don't know, actually, I think that's just the sewer on the back page, or is that roads and sewer?
Well, I think the intent was to do roads and sewer.
Do you have the same paper I have here, Phil?
I don't know if I do, but the intent,
Project total $2,356,000, and
That's sewer.
that's just sewer, isn't it?
Yeah, but the intent is to do the
So,
streets also.
right,
This is the whole project.
yeah.
We want
We just want to be more informative with their residents and let them know, because, we've had meetings, they've had questions, well, where did this end up? Honestly, on the road improvements, they left the improvement hearing thinking that there was an overlay on Whitefish Avenue, and you made the change to a seal code. We just need to bring everybody to the same spot, so we continue to pass along the information. I think we should do the same thing on the sanitary sewer now that you've made the determination that we will go out for bids, we can give them the heads up that we're gonna try and bid this thing in January, so.
So this is just portraying the sewer here, though? You don't have any numbers for the
This
roads?
this is just information that Doug sent out.
Okay.
We would put
Oh,
together a
okay.
form letter, just
Yeah,
like
okay.
we did when you delayed the 2021 road improvements, just to get everyone up, keep them in the loop. Cuts down on probably questions to City Hall, and it probably keeps people repeating around the community the same information instead of, creating it, so.
Good. Good.
I'll make a motion that we go along with the recommendation to direct the city engineer and staff as needed to send letters to the affected property owners as requested.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
One more thing, Mr. Mayor, I got two little things. Public Works meeting has been held at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for a long time. It gets to be a very long day for myself and whoever's at these things. We made a request to the commission and really didn't get some feedback, but not a lot, some discussion about changing the time to during the day. Other public works commissions and things like this are done during the day. I can think of Detroit Lakes and other communities that do it during the day. That's my request to the council, is to change the time.
Well, I'm going to have a conflict with that. I mean, personally.
Yeah,
Just because that was the one meeting that was kind of convenient for me to go to.
Do you have an idea what they're talking about?
No, that's what I'm saying, is
Would 2 o'clock help?
If it was during the day, that would be great, just to get it during the day. We've,
Tom's got something he wants to add to it.
yeah, come forward, Tom.
Tom Swenson, Public Works Commission member. At the meeting, Ted brought this up, and several of us were okay with going to 3 o'clock. There was one commission member that sort of balked at that, and Ted brought up in the morning, and that wasn't good for the other ones. So I think at the next meeting, the discussion just sort of ended, and I think at the next meeting, if Ted puts this back on the agenda, I would think that the commission can come up with something, whether it's 3 or 3:30, or they may say, nope, we got to stay at 4 o'clock. I don't know. The other thing I'd like to bring up is the minutes. Public Works is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars on our infrastructure. I think you need accurate, timely minutes. And at last week's meeting, my understanding was the council said the city clerk would take minutes. At that meeting, when we were asked, or it was asked, who's taking minutes, it was said, well, that was only because they were joint meetings with the council, that the clerk was taking minutes, so she's not going to take minutes anymore. I just think that, Ted is already saying, he's too busy, coming to meetings and all that. My understanding was, it was clear to me, and I thought most of the commission members that the clerk was going to continue taking those minutes. But the only thing I'll say is, when you're spending that kind of money out of a department, I think you better have, good, accurate minutes. Shar does a wonderful job taking minutes. They're very accurate and detailed to get the.
So who took the minutes at the last meeting?
I don't know. Ted took a few notes, and you got a copy that said recommendations from the minutes. I assume you put that together, and I don't know if you're going to try to put additional minutes together, or if those are the minutes from the meeting?
I have not had time, it's on the recording, I have not had time to sit down and write minutes.
I did it for 6 years and it's a tedious job.
Yeah, no, I'm
And I
sure
know
it
that
is.
Shar is busy.
I think that we had discussed this prior and that we were going to have the city clerk take minutes. And Tom, you're right, the Public Works Commission should have accurate minutes. And we want recommendations that are accurate. So I would make a motion that the city clerk take minutes at the Public Works meeting.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, got a motion. Anybody want to second it? I'll second it. And I guess the only thing I'd add to it, if you can come up with some other way to do it or something, but the bottom line is that we need to have minutes for the meetings.
Okay, so can we talk now?
Sure.
At our budget meeting, we talked about help for those two guys over there. So we're getting complaints that nobody's answering the phone in the police department, is that right? And Chip's got all sorts of clerical stuff that he does. So is it time now to get this person on board and have that person help the city office and those two guys? Full-time or part-time, or talk about it?
I was just gonna mention, I take the minutes for our commission, and that takes a lot of time out of my day. And
I'm thinking we
I'm not a
load
full-time employee, so.
Shar down with incredible amount of stuff. Putting out 300 pages for city council meeting by itself is a job, just getting it up and going. I think we need to look at what paperwork we're requiring Shar to do personally.
I appreciate that, John.
When I was the city administrator for Public Works, I did the minutes. After I left, then Dave Schrupp was on there. Nobody on the commission is gonna move forward and say, yeah, I'll take the minutes. So
There was a time when Jim Stevenson took the minutes. But, I mean, maybe it could be another staff person of Ted's, I don't know. A big problem I have with taking those minutes is I don't know what you guys are talking about. I have no idea about that language, none.
But the city clerk is in charge of records, so I would think you'd want accurate minutes. I still think that we should have, and it's during the day, that the city clerk could come in and take minutes.
I agree that there needs to be minutes, but I think it would be nice to maybe take a look at my workload and review it, and I don't know. I don't know what you want me to not do
So you
that
do-
I have time to do it.
You do record the meetings now, so you take minutes off a recording?
Yes.
So you got a record of it
Right now,
anyway?
You're being recorded, it's one.
Right, but you do that at the Public Works meetings too, yeah. So as long as we got documentation, I guess I personally would ask you to look into it and see what you come up with.
Can we try it with the city clerk, taking minutes? And if it's absolutely not,
Yeah, I mean, you could look at your, I don't know what your, I don't watch it, I don't know what your load is, but I'm sure it's,
well, I'm thinking she was taking minutes before for the city council and the public works, that it would be the same thing, so.
looks like you're gonna step up, Ted.
I'll do my best.
I would just come back with, just think about it, yeah.
Yes, sir.
We have to do it, we got the recording, so it's not lost.
It's just a lot to find the time to get it done in the day, so.
So we're going to load Ted up, and it
let
just
them
doesn't make any sense.
Figure it out.
There was a motion to have the city clerk do it, so.
So it's a motion and a second. Can I just add a little bit to that and just say to leave it to staff to come up with a plan for taking the minutes? Give them a little bit of flexibility to do it?
Make sure you identify which staff.
Right, but that wasn't the motion that you're voting on right now. You could take care of the motion you've got and then make that one next.
Well, or you just amend that motion or add that to it. Or just, yeah, amend it and leave it up to staff to come up with a plan. Well, let's go ahead and let your motion and second move, and then if we change it. So we got a motion and a second to ask the clerk to do it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, I guess I seconded. All opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that fails. So I'll make other motion and just have staff come back to us with a recommendation of how you can do it.
We will, clerk and myself and the city manager will work on something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's a motion. We got to vote on it. Anybody
Second that.
second that? Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
One more thing I just want to remind the council, I did remind the commission, you're looking at in 2023, the spring of 2023, the public workshop is paid off. Our agreement with the county sunsets at that time. We need to be working on an agreement with them. You know, right now it's 5347, the cost sharing of the building, paying the bonds, all that kind of stuff. So that is coming up. I just wanted the council that we have touched base with the county. This is coming in your near future. It will take a while to get done, but we do have to work on that, so.
Ted,
Is
do you
that 12/31/2023?
Yeah, what time in 2023?
The April 30th of 23.
It's a spring, yeah, that's spring.
Ted, do you want to talk about the conversation we had with John Nelson from the Crow Wing County Facilities Manager with what they're looking at for building needs?
Well, right now that we're trying to identify if there's any, do we need to build on the building? Do they want to move to a different facility and we buy them out? There was many things were talked about. I've heard since then that they like where they're at. They just soon stay within a partnership with us of some kind. Do we have space issues? Yeah, we have a few space issues we're going to be needing to address in the future. There's other things that the county talked about getting into. They're doing maintenance for the Brainerd utilities, the city of Brainerd. They have staffs that are air conditioners and electricians, and they're using their staff from the county to go do maintenance. Is that something that could come for something for the city? There was many things we talked about that day. I don't remember what else.
Yeah,
it was.
they're just, Tim probably knows this too, they're in the process of identifying what their space needs are. It's one of the issues you have right now in your building. So when you pull a truck in, the trucks are larger, the equipment's bigger, it's wider. You're out of space.
Yeah. Especially when the plows, you can't back out one truck with the other truck behind it. We have to stagger the equipment in there to get it out, so.
So are there provisions for exit out of that agreement?
Yeah, there's.
And
there's
what
a-
are those?
Oh, yeah, it's a
Don't know.
very, very deep language, and I haven't reviewed it for a long time, so.
Can we have the county come and give us their intention on what they see they're going to do?
I don't know if you're ready to talk about today or not, though.
I know that we're gonna sit down, and I'll just look at my calendar when that was, we agreed to sit down, our county attorney and probably at the table.
Well, just, can you keep us in the loop on that? We don't have to decide anything now,
I'm not sure
but
who the city's gonna send to that meeting, but we're aware of it, and we do need to take care of it, as Ted mentioned.
yeah.
It's coming.
I just wanted the council to
Yeah.
be aware that this is, date is coming, so.
That's good. Thanks, Ted.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now we got planning and zoning.
Yikes.
Good evening. I have a few items for you this evening. First one on the agenda is to approve a final plat for the Woods of Cross Lake. And actually, that is, the final plat is from Mark and Maria Holman. It is not Greg and Roseanne Hagelin. It was sold in between. And so they're looking, they've provided everything that was required of them for the, with their application, including a developer's agreement to have the road built. They're working with this county, or excuse me, the city engineer right now and Public Works to make sure that that is done appropriately with soil borings and everything else. They paid their park dedication fee. So everything is good to go there, and we're looking for a motion and to approve this plat.
So the park dedication fee has been paid?
Yes, I just got a check before the meeting for $16,500.
Has anything changed on it since we looked at it last time?
Just a couple minor things within their covenants, but the actual layout of the plat with the road and everything has not changed.
So John, I have one question on most of these. There's new roads involved?
Correct.
Is the city taking over a paved
This road here, this road is going to be built to the city standard. Once that is completed and it's signed off by the city engineer, then they will come forward from this group here to approve taking that road over.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion to approve the final plat for the Woods of Cross Lake.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Conversation? Question? Nothing, Aaron?
Nope. It's a good one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congrats, Mark.
Thank you. The next one is a recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve a preliminary plat for Woody's Tall Pines by Gerald and Carol Woody. I believe there's a mistake on your agenda. It says Woody Tall Pines, but it should be Woody's. This plat meets all the requirements of the current ordinance for lot size. They are not planning on developing this road to the city standard, and they're not going to be asking at this time for the city to take over this road. So it'll be their road to maintain and take care of on their own.
I believe they were informed of that they would have to make sure it came up to city standards if they ever did want us.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think the one condition that they had on there that we talked about was maintaining a as much natural vegetation in that 20-foot buffer in lots 1 and 7 along Johnny Street to maintain some of the space for houses and alongside the road.
I didn't know, I wasn't aware that they had the option of not bringing it up to city standards. That's an option when you do a development?
If they are not going to ask the city to take over maintenance of the road,
Then you don't
yes,
have to.
it is an option. Because you'll see the next one that we're doing is the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, are there any untold stories that we should know about with this one?
Not that I know of.
Everything looks good?
It meets all the requirements of our ordinance. Both the land use ordinance and the subdivision ordinance.
I move we approve Woody's.
This is the preliminary plat.
Development. Preliminary.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and then we'll bring this right into the final plat of theirs. Gerald and Carol Woody submitted an application for you to approve the final plat. They have paid the park dedication fee, which is the next motion on here. But everything else is there. They have covenants. They have do not have a developer's agreement because they are not planning on developing the road and asking the city to take it over. All the lots, again, meet the minimum lot size requirements from the land use ordinance and all of the rest of the Chapter 44 subdivision ordinance. We're looking at approval of the final plat for Woody's Tall Pines.
Okay, anybody have a motion on that?
I move that we approve Woody's final plat.
I second it.
Any other discussion?
And that $9,000 park dedication fee was paid? Or isn't that the same one?
That's the next
the
one,
next one?
next item on my agenda
Okay.
here.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. So the next item, D, is a recommendation from Park and Recreation to accept cash in lieu of land for the Woody Tall Pine subdivision. And yes, it has been paid $10,500 for 7 new lots. Because they are not turning the road into a city street, that is an outlot, so they have to pay the park dedication fee for the 7 new parcels that they're creating on that property. So we're looking for a motion to accept the $10,500 in lieu of land for park dedication fees.
It's 10.5 versus 9?
Correct, because it's 7 new parcels.
Okay. How come our park dedication fees are not catching up with what we're approving? Like in August, we approved close to $35,000 in park dedication fees, and it's still not showing up on the financial statement. I think we have a $13,500. And in August, just the first part of August, we did over $35,000 of park dedication fees. How long does it take before it?
Those were recommendations to accept cash in lieu of land, but the cash isn't paid until the final plats are approved.
Correct. We don't accept the cash until right before the final plat comes here, in case that you, as a group with the preliminary plat, something changes. So we don't collect that money until the final plat application is submitted. Otherwise, if something goes south, now the city's on the hook to refund whatever that amount is.
Okay, so none of those park dedication fees that were approved in August, those subdivisions have not been approved then?
Or that we're doing them tonight.
That's these?
Correct.
What you're doing, okay.
And there may be some other ones out there. What happens is when we have a development review team meeting and we see that someone is going to be doing a plat or they're going to be doing a minor subdivision, which I do the approval on that, as soon as we do that DRT, we send the information to TJ so he knows in advance that this is coming up. He then goes to you and asks for the park dedication fee versus the land, if they're going to take land. Now, in my time here in 8 years, we've only had 1 subdivision that we've taken land from, and that was at the end of Perkins Road. So he looks at his park plan, he determines, all right, we planned a trail here, so we're going to take the land. And that was what he brings to his commission. They make a recommendation to you, and that's how we proceed. Mm-hmm. We haven't had any more of those, and we might be 6 months behind because people don't necessarily come right out of the DRT and go into their subdivision. Sometimes they wait.
Okay, so with these approvals, the park dedication fees will catch up?
Correct. And
all the ones that we approved?
And if it's already been approved, other than this Woody one, it's a little different, that we will not bring it before you for the final plat until we have the check in hand for the park dedication fee. That's part of Chapter 44 in the subdivision ordinance. So, all right, so we have that $10,500. Did they vote on that? All right. We need a motion and for you to vote on approving that $10,500 park dedication
I'll make a
fee.
motion for Woody's subdivision park dedication of $10,500 be accepted.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item E is a recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve a preliminary plat for the Fawn Lake Park First Edition. Cynthia Holden is the property owner there. What they're proposing on this one is to add 19 additional parcels. It is a commercial light industrial area, so the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. These are the ones, if you drive down Fawn Lake Road, you'll see all the new pole buildings that are going up in the commercial district that's there. This is what this was designed for. If this is approved, the preliminary, then we go into a few other things with road names and everything else. But they meet all the minimum requirements of the ordinance, and there were no conditions that the Planning Commission had proposed to recommend for you to accept. So we're looking for a motion to approve the preliminary plat for the first addition to Fawn Lake Park.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Fawn Lake Park First Edition.
I second it.
Okay, any other discussion on it?
And this is also one that's private roads and not built to city
That is
standards.
correct. They will not be looking to turn these over to the city. They will just be developing them on their own.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor?
Right, item F is to amend the ordinance naming roads within the Fawn Lake Park First Edition as East Ravenwood Drive, West Ravenwood Drive, and White Hawk Trail. So we're looking for to add those. The county has approved those names. They meet the requirements, and they need to be added into the ordinance, the city.
I move we add them into our ordinance and our city street names.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor?
Item G is to approve publishing the ordinance amendment in a summary form in the official newspapers, and that's just to let everybody know that we just named 3 new roads.
I so move.
I second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Item H is to approve the final plat for Fawn Lake Park First Edition. They have submitted all the requirements, including their park dedication fee for the 19 new lots that are going on. So we're looking for approval of the final plat for the first edition of Fawn Lake Park.
I make a motion to approve the final plat for the Fawn Lake Park First Edition.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? That's a good place for that. Dean and Cindy, good job. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor.
Item I is a Carabao Point is out on the end of East Shore Boulevard. It was a PUD plat that was done a number of years ago. There were 4 individual cabins that were on there that they had a postage size stamp lot size that was there with some common area surrounding all of them. The 4 property owners that are there have come forward and asked that this be replatted to make it so that there are only 4 lots there. So they're reducing by parcels by 1. So instead of 5 parcels, there's going to be just 4. They're going to be, I think the original PUD plat that was there was to somewhat restrict the development, but the ordinance that we have in place now with all the setbacks and all the requirements for impervious and everything else restricts them even further than what the original PUD plat was. We sent this all off to Brad. I haven't heard anything back from him, so I am assuming that everything is good to go. So what they're looking for is to give each of their parcels a little bit more owned property, fee title property, so that the guy that's living on the first house when you drive in can't go out and have a picnic right in front of the 4th house on the property, which could happen right now. There was some discussion at the meeting. You know, they were concerned about this. I don't believe that there are any other PUD plats that we have in the city that are as similar to this that would be coming in the future to split the land up the way that they're trying to do it. They're just not, these old resorts, most of them are not conducive to that. This one is very unique, and I don't believe that it's going to be a problem in the future with setting precedents. So they're asking for the preliminary plat for the replat of Carabao Point, looking for a motion to approve that as a recommendation from the council.
Question for you, is the public road end before you get to this place? You don't have to plow, and you don't plow.
Correct, it ends, turned around right at the end of it there.
Yep, all right.
It's all private. They have to work with easements to get each, if you look on there, cabin number 4, which is the one furthest to the north, has to have an easement across lots 1, 2, and 3 to get to their property, and they have to work all that out. That's their own deal.
I make a motion that we approve preliminary replat for Carabao Point.
Second.
Is there anything else we should know about it?
Again, there was a little bit of concern about what they're trying to do there, that it would set a precedence, but I don't believe, what I've looked into the other PUD plats from that era, none of them are similar enough.
There's no new buildings or new anything?
No one's proposing anything new. They're actually going to be adjusting things because the way they drew the line, there's some sheds that are cut in half with the new property
Also,
lines.
Maybe I'll add or say it another way. I agree with him, but we wouldn't allow this plat from scratch, I don't believe.
No.
These are too small of lots. It's already there. So he's worried about maybe other already there situations, but we're allowing this in my mind, or that's why P&Z allowed it. Because it's already a pre-existing problem. It's not increasing or creating more density in the lake. The houses are already there. So this is this is a compromised way to fix it. The houses are there. We're not adding a new lot or density, so that's what staff and the council or the commissions were saying.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second to approve. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor.
Item J is to approve the final replat for Carabao Point. The only thing I have to add to this is because they are not adding any new parcels, there is no park dedication fee. They're actually reducing the parcels from 5 down to 4.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the final replat for Cowabara Point.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Item K, we were tasked, and this went through, we have a recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve the proposed revisions to the City of Cross Lake Land Use Ordinance, Chapter 26. These items were put out for public comment. We received 3 comments, 2 in favor of what you see before you today, and 1 that was totally opposed to all this. The Planning Commission held a public hearing. The individual that was opposed to it in writing came up and spoke, and they proceeded to make a recommendation to submit to you for approval the proposed changes as is. So we're looking for a recommendation to approve the proposed changes to the land use ordinance.
A question, I had a call today, someone felt the 12 feet would not work for them because they would have a boat or an RV with air conditioner on top, et cetera, and that this would just push people to putting more junk outside their structure. Could you just comment on that?
Certainly. If you look, let's see, one of the changes that was proposed was to limit the wall height of accessory structures in the residential areas within the city. On lots that are less than 2 acres in size, that would be a wall height limit of 12 feet. On lots between 2 and 4 acres, it was a 12-foot wall height limit. And then if you have a piece of property that's larger than 4 acres in size, you would be limited to 16 feet for wall height. One of the concerns that we heard as staff and that I brought forward to the Planning Commission was, what is the reason people are building these buildings for? It's to put their stuff inside. We've heard from people, and we've had a number of people pull permits so they don't have to follow these new restrictions because they're concerned about that 12-foot wall height limit. If you have an RV, if you have a fish house, if you have a pontoon that doesn't have a collapsible top, you're not going to be able to get it in a 10-foot door. And that's their concern. So they build it to put their stuff inside to protect it from the weather and people walking away with their things. If they can't get it inside, we're going to have just as many things outside stored on their lots covered with tarps. That was their one concern, but the Planning Commission felt that the 12-foot height limit was what they were looking for.
And the 4 acres, how did you come up with that?
That was something that you guys did several years ago where we broke it down and we said anything less than 2 acres, you're restricted to 1,200 square feet in building size per accessory structure. Between 2 and 4 acres, you're restricted to 2,500 square feet of building in any individual building. And if you're greater than 4 acres in size, you can build up to your 25%. You can have a huge building out there if you want. This change in the ordinance, then, if anything larger than 2,500 square feet, will require a conditional use permit. And that's so they can look at additional setbacks or screening or something else that might be appropriate for each site. So you establish those sizes of lots and the size of structures several years ago. We're just adding this now, the wall heights and the mid-peak height of changing it from 30 down to 24.
I just hesitate on if we got this thought through all the way. I've received a lot of phone calls on it, a lot of people not excited about this.
Like I said, we've probably had 24 permits pulled.
Right.
So they fall under the old rules and they don't have to abide by the wall height limit.
Right.
But you get a 1,200 square foot building and you get a 16-foot wall on it. My God,
I know.
that's going to stand out in the neighborhood. It's going to look as ugly as the day is long.
If you got a 1,200-foot building with a 14-foot wall, that's more functional for more people. I mean, that's the. So if you got less than 4 acres, you can't. You can go. If you have greater than 4 acres, you can go 2,500 feet, or is unlimited.
You could go 10,000 square feet if you have enough space and you don't exceed that 2,500 or 20%, 25% impervious. So, but you need a conditional use permit, anything bigger than 2,500 square feet.
My only question to it is, have we thought it out full enough to make a change in the thing? You guys have we've all worked hard on it for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hard thing to figure out.
And I say you enact the ordinance as you propose. We look at how many variances we get over the next year for people that say 12-foot high wall isn't enough. If we have, probably more than a half dozen or close to 10 variance requests for wall height, then it's time to go back and look at it and potentially change the ordinance.
Yeah, it's just the impact that it's taken on the people in the in-between is kind of unfortunate.
Yep. And I guess the other big thing that we're adding in this proposed change is adding a vent center so that we have the people that are wanting to turn their garage into a wedding venue on the weekends, or for all the short-term rentals that we have where they're using them as event centers. We'd be able to capture it and say, that's not an allowed use in the shoreline district, and it needs to be in the commercial area or it needs to be out in the country somewhere with more than 5 to 10 acres in size, and have the appropriate parking and ingress, egress,
Right.
everything.
Right. I don't know, I would like to, the 1,200 feet and 12-foot sidewalls, I'm going to make a motion that we pull that out and table that portion of it until we figure it out. And I'm doing that based on at least six phone calls I've had. And I'm not sure that it's the right thing because, I can look at an instance and say, well, it absolutely should apply here, but the same person that you can't even see on the road has got the same thing impacted on him. So do we tell him to go through the variance process? And he'd probably get it. It's a delay and it's an expense.
I think that's what you need to do. You need to send them to the variance process, and you need to have John watch it to see if this is an ongoing issue, and then bring it back to us if it is.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a motion to table the 12-foot for less than 4 acres. Other than that, I like
You have
the way
it,
looks.
the 12-foot is in there for anything, less than 4 acres, so the two different classifications. 2 to 4, 0 to
Maximum
2
wall.
and 2 to 4.
I
You
got
have a
maximum wall height of 12 feet for less than 4 acres.
Yep.
It's in there in another place, you're saying?
Well, again, it's if you look on Article 36, in your packet, the third from the last page, we're saying on lots 2 acres in size or less and lots 2 to 4 acres in size, the wall limit is 12 feet.
Is there any, we can't be project-specific on this decision, can we? Look at it and decide if it should be or shouldn't be?
That's what a variance is for.
Right. Well, I'm gonna make that motion anyway. You guys let it die if you want, but I'm just uncomfortable with that 12 feet across the board.
John, could it just be section 26-960 that they table?
It could be that whole section, or it could just be items 1 and 2. Section 960, 1 and 2 would be the two that are affected by that.
You know, even if we could do it off lake lots, make it an exception. I don't know. I'll leave that motion, let you guys decide. So you got a motion on the table. Is there a second? Motion dies.
So again, this is something that if we get a bunch of people that are coming in for variance requests, we relook at it in a year and we make a change accordingly.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, I'm for the restriction, I'm just not sure how to do it.
I think the original request when we first started this was a 10-foot wall height.
Yeah.
I think the commission's done a good job of digging into this, and you have too, so I'm going to go with your recommendation and make a motion that we approve changes as presented.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 4-1.
Item L is to approve publishing the ordinance amendment that you just approved in summary form in the official newspapers. Do we need a motion for that?
I move we approve the, to publish these ordinances.
I second it.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor.
All right. Item M is to go back and terminate the moratorium you have on non-residential uses within the shoreline and rural residential zoning districts. The changes that you just enacted will, if you look in there in the land use table, removes any commercial uses within the shoreline district, and without even an opportunity to get a conditional use permit for that.
So I move that we rescind the ordinance terminating any moratorium on non-residential uses within shoreline district and RR5 zoning districts.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor.
All right. And the last item that I have on the agenda, N, is we received a notification from the county that right now the way that we handle septic permits, designs, and inspections is the county does the design review, they give approval for it, and then we can do the permits. When the permit is issued, they submit the permit information to the county, and the county actually comes out and does the inspection piece before they cover the drain field. The county said that agreement that we have with them is going to be terminated by them on the 1st of January. So we have a couple choices. My recommendation is that we put out for bids and ask for septic designers and installers to bid on doing the inspection piece of it. There's one person in the county that does it. He does it for just about everybody, but we'd put it out there. And then in the future, what we'd look at, if that's what you're proposing, is that we increase the septic permitting fee to accommodate the cost that goes along with paying someone to do that work. We don't have a qualified employee. We don't have anybody on city staff that in planning and zoning that does in design reviews or inspections for septic systems. It's a long process to get certified to do that by the state. I went through the classes, but I had a very difficult time getting mentoring that needed to be done to go out on the site amongst all the other duties that I have. I would have been gone for most of the summer out just doing that.
So would there be a little conflict if it was an installer that was doing design inspections? Wouldn't that be a conflict?
Well, it has to be somebody, when we go through this and somebody says, okay, I'm gonna be the design reviewer, then they're not gonna be able to do designs for the city of Cross Lake. The same with the installers and the inspectors doing that. If they're gonna be doing work in the city of Cross Lake, they can't be the person that we hire to do the inspections.
So don't we just, I was looking at this and I'm somewhat familiar with this, but the state's pretty tough on people that are licensed to do septic systems. And if a designer is licensed in the state and he submits a design to you, that design should be good to go. I don't know why we're doing a second look with another designer, because they all know what they're supposed to do. And if they don't, they're gonna get in trouble. So what I'm proposing is licensed designer gives you the permit and you're good to go, but then we find somebody to inspect the job before it's covered up.
I still believe we're required in our ordinance for someone to review the design to make sure that it's appropriate, because there are sometimes people make mistakes.
So the county's not gonna review either, huh?
No. No, and I asked them, would we be able to just pay you to do that? And the answer back was no. That's not, you're either gonna, our choice is to give them the whole program and say, septic is yours, county, take care of it. Or we put out for bids and we have somebody that does the design reviews and the inspections for the city of Cross Lake. Those are two choices we have.
Well, why wouldn't we just give it to them and let them do it?
That would cause, I believe that would cause some delay in the permitting process, because then what we would have to do is we'd have to go look into the county system. We'd have to find out if they submitted a design and got a permit from the county before we could issue a permit for the new house or the tear down rebuild or whatever they're doing. We don't have access to the county system like we used to when we were county employees. We had our fingers in everything that they did, and when the county said, we're done with this, and the city took it over, we lost that access.
And the county wouldn't notify you when the plan's reviewed and like
We asked for that, and it happens, but just think of the volume of work that they do down there, and are they gonna remember every time they issue a permit to the city of Cross Lake to send us an email that, hey, we issued a permit? I can tell you right now, no, they're not gonna do that every time, and we're gonna be searching, and we might be delaying people a week or two.
Or you put it up to the installer to get it to you when you do the application. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we could look at it both ways. When is the drop dead? When are they gonna stop? The first?
January 1st.
And we're really not doing anything in midwinter anyway. Everything's getting.
Correct.
So
we would have time
let's
to go
just look
through
at our
that.
options.
Well, I tell you, right now, our options are to give it, just hand it to the county and say, there you go, it's yours now. And then we have some delays, or we go through this process and we put out for bids and we get somebody that is willing to do the design approvals and the inspections for us.
You don't think we can get by with the
I don't think
designers
so.
on his own?
No. No, because the county, they review all their own.
Did they find errors?
Yes. There's occasionally an error.
Well, that's probably a state mandated thing.
I think it is. I can look that up and find out for sure, but it's in the ordinance, it's in their ordinance. One of the things that we have to go by is whatever their ordinance says, we can be more restrictive, but we can't be less restrictive. So if the county says there will be a design review before it's approved, then we have to do the same thing.
I would almost lean towards just letting the county take care of it, personally.
It's their requirement by the state. If we say we don't want it and we just give it to them, then we have to eliminate that section of our ordinance, but it's theirs then.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have some time here.
Yeah.
Maybe another month.
But if you could give us options or, you know.
Sure, I can do that. So do you want to just table this for now and we come back?
I suppose in order to get an idea what it would cost us, you would actually have to put out for bids, wouldn't we?
We would. I can tell you right now, it costs the county $55 for every design review and $165 for every inspection.
$210 roughly.
We can add that to the cost of the.
We charge $250 for a septic permit right now. If we added $150 to it, we'd be covered for our time and any cost if bids come back in similar fashion.
So if we turned it over to the county, would we still do a septic permit?
We would not.
They would do
They
that.
would do the
So
septic
that would
permitting,
be-
100%.
yeah,
We
wash our
would,
hands of it.
we wouldn't have to deal with it.
I mean, we're talking about adding staff and adding all kinds of stuff. I think this is an opportunity to lessen it.
I'll make a motion that we give it to the county.
It's just flat out give it to them or look into the options or just give it to the county?
I don't know, do you want to look in the
I
options? I'm just thinking, give it to the county.
Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but.
I don't know, maybe the counties, they have no people. Then it's going to be a big problem.
They, up until just this last year, they had someone contracted to do this. Just in the last year, they have one qualified employee right now at the county. Other people are in the pipeline to get there.
That's why we could really look at both ways.
Yeah, I think it's best to
We're not in a
look at
hurry.
options.
Yeah. Okay, but Marcia, you're going to make a motion. I'm going to, go ahead.
I made the motion
Okay.
to give it to the county.
To the county. Do we have a second on it?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? The only other discussion I would add is that we have time, we don't have to decide tonight, and I'd kind of like to look at the options. So, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails.
So you want me to bring you back additional information?
Yeah, I would like to, on both,
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion for you to come back with an option that you recommend.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
And I'll bring that through the planning commission to get their recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
No.
No. 4-1.
That's all I have. Thank you.
John, can you clarify one
Yes.
item on that? So if you go build a house and you need a septic permit, so now instead of coming to the city and getting a permit, you got to go to the city and the county.
Correct.
If it goes to the county.
So what Mike said is if you are coming in and you want to build a house and you need to have either a septic upgrade or you need to put a new septic system in, you're going to come into the city and you're going to submit your application, and I'm going to tell that person, if you give it to the county, I'm going to tell that person, you first need to go get a permit from the county for your septic, and when you show me that permit that you have for your septic system from the county, then I will accept your application and allow you to build your house. Right now, what we do is when they submit their application to us, they submit their design down to the county at the same time. And we don't wait for them to approve it. We can issue it. Unless it's, all they're doing is a septic system, then we wait for the approval. We're gonna have to wait for the approval and the permit before we can issue permits.
You don't
here.
wait for the design to be approved now when you come in here to get a building permit?
Not if they're building a house also, because there's such a delay if we have to wait for it at times. If it's just a septic system, if that's all they're doing, then yes, we wait for the septic approval before we issue the permit.
Okay.
So,
Anyway, we got time to look into it.
all right, thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay, public forum, action may or may not be taken on any issues raised. If the council requires more information or time for consideration, the issue will be placed on the agenda of the next regular council meeting. Speaker must state their name. Does anybody have anything?
Good evening. Terry Johnson. I'm at 14086 Tall Timbers Trail, and I am here for the Old Log Landing Homeowners Association. And the concern we have is the status of our crosswalk in this improvement project, the 66 improvement with the sewer extension. From what we understand, our crosswalk is ADA, but it does not include basically the other items like the lights and that type of thing, and it is a heavily used crosswalk. And we're concerned with basically the people that use it, if they're disabled or using, you know, wheelchair or whatever, and they're trying to cross. And we hope that the county would reduce the speed to 35 through there, being how we're going